Caw. Is that the
Steven and I were doing our voice exercises.
Were you?
Warm-ups.
How now, brown cows?
Yeah.
How now?
I asked Steven if his tea was high because, we're about to hit the record button. I need high tea at all times.
High tea.
High tea Steve-O is like the only reason anyone's here. I just want to clarify. That is, wow. Am I supposed to switch?
Yeah. I
been-
forgot. You're a terrible multitasker.
Oh my God.
You're
we
not
are
going to be able to
fucked.
do this.
We are fucked.
What
This
did
is
we
gonna
not
go
think
well.
about this?
I mean, first of all, I forgot the job before it even started. I forgot I had the buttons. Eric,
Cameras are not
wish
going
me
to be
luck.
good today.
yeah. Now let's see. I forgot I was even doing this. So
Have you played poker with Armand before?
No,
I refuse.
We've
I
gone
would
over this
never
a million
play.
times. He didn't want to come to the $100 buy-in night because it was too high stakes.
No. I have a very clear
Threshold?
No, I just have a very clear ask. Like, we play soccer and we play poker. I want you to feel how I would feel.
Well, anyway, he can't multitask
response?
discussion. Plus
you just
playing
broke my
poker.
brain with that question. It was so
It
ridiculous.
wasn't a question.
It was a demand.
Oh, sorry.
Yeah. No one wants to enter the realm of a professional poker player.
It's Friday night. You can hang out with some friends casually at 9 p.m. What do? You get on the soccer field and sprint? No. Just sit around a table, you drink whiskey, you have a good time.
I'm just going to apologize
And
in
you hand me
advance
all your monies.
for these cameras. So, wish me luck.
All right, everyone. Welcome to the Alfalfa podcast. We are live on YouTube right now, like we are every Wednesday at 5 p.m. PST. Welcome to all of you in the chat. I see the chat filling in. What's up, everyone? Thanks for joining us. Like the video if you haven't already. Today, we're Armand, Steven, and Nick. Eric took the day off. I don't know if he submitted to HR
No.
in advance, but he's currently at the Manchester United game
Yes.
in San Diego.
Yeah, he's like on the circuit. Wherever they play, he goes.
Yeah.
They're
It's a rich
local
guy
tonight.
thing to do.
They're local.
Go on the
tonight.
Manchester United circuit.
Yeah.
London, San Diego.
Yes,
Okay,
we miss you,
well,
Eric.
Eric, we miss you. All the video viewers will miss you once Armand, about 75 minutes in, forgets to
Guaranteed.
switch the cameras.
Guaranteed.
You might have to nudge that camera over a bit. I'm just worried we're going to cut our boy Armand out a little.
I don't know. It's kind of a violent thing to do.
You think so?
You want me to do it?
I don't know.
I'm literally not in the shot.
All right.
Because he nudged his chair. He wanted to be closer. Oh, no, I'm not in the shot.
Overcorrect.
Oh, God.
What am I doing? Okay.
We shouldn't have moved forward. All right. I mean, close enough. Whatever. I don't like how my legs
Balls are.
Oh, we need like a higher camera angle.
Yeah.
They've always been showing with your Viore pants. The whole audience
I
knows this.
Need a redo on this setup. All
No, you
right,
just need to wear pants.
I'm gonna roll with it. I am wearing pants.
Going to a rodeo?
Man's pants. All right, everyone. Like I said, like the video if you haven't already. Subscribe if you haven't already, especially if you're just listening. And by the way, please comment on the video, like the YouTube comments, because last week they were spicy. They were a lot of fun. We enjoyed those. So thanks all for whoever commented on the YouTube video.
We're about to break 1,000 in Discord. Join us in the Discord if
Ooh.
you have not joined already. So many of you out there that are listening or watching or have not yet entered the actual Alfalfa community. So alfalfapod.com. There's a link to the Discord. Hop in.
Steven, when you play
Full
that,
money
they
back
hear it.
guarantee.
Oh, do they?
Yeah.
Sorry, I'm new at this. I just wasn't sure if it was. There will be technical issues today.
Yeah. Promised.
Just embrace it.
All right, what else we got here? Yeah, like Armand said, all the links are at alfalfapod.com, so hop in the Discord. Lots of fun channels in there, money, life, politics. There's some threads in there, kind of our Easter eggs of the Discord. Let's see, you can support the pod in a few different ways. You throw a super chat in there, and your comment will show up big on the screen, so play with that if you like. We trust you. Check pods.media/alfalfa to collect all the digital collectibles. We appreciate all of you guys who've done this. And today, we're drinking a Sancerre. And Steven, all I know about a Sancerre is that it tastes delicious. Is there anything else that you can inform us about a Sancerre?
It's Sauvignon Blanc.
Okay.
Before the pod went live, Armand was like, "I love Sancerre and Sauvignon Blanc," and I was like, This is redundant.
See, you didn't just let it go. Let it, in like a normal conversation, you just let it flow. You're like, point of contention.
I can't let things go.
You didn't mention that I trolled your troll. Keep it real, Steven.
I couldn't tell if you were trolling though.
But I trolled your troll.
But then why did you say it in the first place? Did you just say it to set up the troll?
I don't know. Who
Like
knows?
knowing that I would troll you
4D
back and then you
chess.
could come over the top with a re-troll? I
Is
don't
that
know.
what 4D chess looks like?
I think so. It might be underwater
No,
4D chess.
Sancerre is awesome. You've been to the region, right, Nick?
I've been to France.
Okay, good enough. They serve it there and everywhere else. Yeah, it's awesome.
Okay.
Light, crisp, refreshing, minerally. I love the minerality.
Love the minerality.
Just
Love the minerality.
It's hot out today here in San Diego, and it just feels nice to have some cooled down Sancerre. It's refreshing.
Give me a flashback to all the adjectives they were teaching us.
Mm.
Is it grippy?
Grippy.
I can't talk.
I
to
feel like
you
that has
and
another
do
meaning
this.
to like 16-year-olds.
When he said grippy, like I went.
I don't know what it means, but I'm sure
let's not go there.
it's offensive. All right, let's give a shout out to our sponsor today. It's zbiotics.com/alfalfa. And check out the pre-alcohol ZBiotics. As in, there might be more ZBiotics coming. Yeah, you heard us mention it before, but there's some new products coming out. So today, I took my pre-alcohol ZBiotics. And also, Steven paid like 80% of his principal debt out to me.
Oh,
in,
yeah?
in
80%?
pre-alcohol.
I thought
Yeah,
it was
you
100%.
give me like 4. Maybe
What's
you were
your-
down
I
by
owed you
5.
4.
What's your interest rate?
I don't know. At least one bottle.
Man.
That's it?
Well, I mean, that's got to be like 20%.
No, you got to double it.
I know.
Double the rate.
The vig is strong. All right, the juice continue. The drip continues on your debt. Yeah. So anyway, you drink it before your first drink of the night, and for the cost of one drink, you can make sure you don't feel all those drinks in the morning that you have for the rest of the night. It's the world's first engineered probiotic, and if you use the code Alfalfa at checkout, you get 15% off. So check it out. It saves you some money and also supports the pod. So thank you, ZBiotics, for always supporting us and being a big champion of the pod. We love you much.
Nice.
Have you guys been watching the Olympics at all?
I've been watching I see the highlights as they trickle in on social media.
Or any of you guys like abstaining from the Olympics? Or
I'm not abstaining. I'm just like a creature of habit. And when something happens like every 4 years, it's very hard for me to
Get it.
World Cup is basically the only thing I can do every 4 years.
Ryder Cup every 2 years? I can do that.
No, Ryder Cup can't do it.
Well, can we
I
talk
always
about maybe a more important Olympiad that the USA already won? Can we talk about how the USA won the International Math Olympiad? Do you have a picture of all of Eric's cousins up
That's a
there?
good question. I don't know where this tab is.
Mm.
Where is it?
I'll wait for you to get
Where's
it.
the tab?
I don't know, wherever you would expect it to be for
You
what
know,
we're talking
there it
about
is.
today.
There it is.
There we
got
go.
it. I mean, super informative.
There's our champion team right there. So the
These
USA
guys.
took first
Zoom and enhance.
in the 56th International Mathematical Olympiad. It was their first since 1994. The way it works is these individual team members take on 6 problems, taken in sets of 3 over 4.5-hour sessions. The USA team put a score up of 185, edging out China, who scored 181, and Korea came in third with 161. And I don't know. We talk about how we want the world to be a meritocracy, so I think it's important to emphasize merit
pretty
when it
sweet.
happens.
We
And
beat-
these individuals deserve some
We beat
attention.
Asia. We did it.
Yeah.
And we only needed 5/7 of our team to be Asian to do it. So,
Yeah. But when I'm watching the Olympics, it's kind of my favorite part. You know, when you see I don't know, Ukraine, Russia, Japan, China, and then you look at the U.S. and it's just like this hodgepodge of everything. I mean, you kind of see that for Great Britain and most other countries too. But I don't know. I take a lot of pride that
It's great.
we're a melting pot.
Did you know I was a mathlete in high school?
Ah,
Yeah.
what was your highest? Did you do like AP calculus?
We didn't have AP classes in my high school.
Hmm.
It was kind of a
Really? Wow. That's like a thing?
I had like 100 kids in my class, you know, with
Oh.
like a tiny
I thought every school had that.
Tiny
That's
hometown.
crazy.
Yeah,
so
I
you
had-
didn't get any credits going into college.
No, I had to like teach myself like a few chapters of math just to like take the AB.
Oh
to-
wow.
yeah. It
Are
was-
you an autodidact, self-taught mathematician?
Partially, yes. Although I've also forgotten all of it. So,
Math is quite forgettable.
oops. Math's hard.
I feel like they should just stick it to arithmetic, algebra, and statistics and probabilities, and then everything else, unless you're going off in like an engineering degree.
I wish I knew more statistics. Like I took one statistics class in college, and it was pretty balls to the wall, and I learned a lot. But it's like the only thing I use in my everyday life now.
Say I use it every day for like when we run experiments and split tests,
Like shockingly useful and completely ignored.
and also just kind of doing the shorthand math on expected value calculations. It's useful.
Yeah.
Okay. Was there anything like funny or mockable about the Olympics in
Wow.
last week?
It's funny you asked that.
Yeah, you want to show some things? I know you pulled up.
Wait, don't put it on yet because I have to find it. There it is. Okay.
What are you going to show us?
So the opening ceremony was a bit controversial. Somebody on Twitter put this side by side of Russia 10 years ago versus France. We've got a beautiful ballet, classical music, and then we appear to have a I don't know what this is. It's a drunk Smurf. We've got I believe we also had an obese female Jesus and the 12 gay
The
disciples.
Smurf was naked.
The Smurf was naked.
We had a nut. We had balls out on another guy.
There's obese female Jesus right there. Now we've got some sort of a headless satanic doll,
Well,
and then like
that's Maria
flames, heavy metal. I think we also had like we had a death riding in on a white horse
Yeah.
straight out of the Book of Revelation.
What was that about? I still can't make sense of that part.
There it is. There's the LGBTQIA plus Last Supper. People are not happy about this. People are not thrilled.
So-
Here, I'll pause that.
Yeah,
music.
pause that. I mean, like usually, when did China do the Olympics? Was it 2008?
8.
Usually, it's like a show of your culture.
I mean, China was terrifying, right? They had like
Thousands of
3,000
drummers.
thousands of people
Drummers.
drumming in unison. It was like, ooh.
You're like, wow, what could happen if a billion people just follow orders and do it really well? I think when Greece held the Olympics, that seemed to like match up with their culture. So I've only been to France once. Am I missing something about French culture? Was this part of it, or was this something totally different? Because I feel like I missed something.
I actually didn't. I actually thought it was a good representation of French culture.
How so? Like,
Go on.
Not like in a traditional sense, but this is the new ideology, and they exhibited their ideology to the world. Like this is what they want the world to see, and they wanted the world to know that this is what they
Is this a
stand
French
for. And
ideology?
I don't know. No, I don't think it's a French native ideology, but it's one that they've elected to take on, and it's overtaken their culture, their politics, and even more so here.
I
Even
found
more
it
so here.
confusingly hilarious. Like, can you imagine the brainstorming sessions?
I didn't know if I should laugh or cry when I saw it, to be honest. I had like very mixed emotions between the two.
I mean, you didn't get offended by it, but you just thought it was like hilariously
I mean,
confusing.
I had secondhand, like, I was offended, in the sort of third person. Like, I could feel my mother watching this and like dying.
Blasphemy.
I mean, it was like if they did this with like Muhammad, right? The entire country would be on fire.
I just think the guy's nuts out behind the kid was a little. That one probably crossed the line for me.
I saw a community note that were like, "This isn't balls, it's pantyhose," and I was just looking at it. And I just kept
really?
Staring at. I think it was just a trick to make me just stare at this guy's balls for like 20 minutes because I just kept looking at it, and I just kept seeing a man's balls hanging out.
Wow.
I'm pretty sure Tom Nom confirmed it was balls too.
Okay.
So-
It was a ball. It was one ball. It was a perfect one ball was like
I mean, maybe it was not real, because what guy walks out like that?
one who wants to make a statement. And
Why do you think they did this? What do you think was the message? Do you think there was a message?
Yeah, of course there was a
What
message.
was the message?
It was masterminded by somebody. Forget his name, but yeah, they put a lot of time and energy into every detail. Whole world is watching. Billion people. Anyone who says this wasn't completely intentional in every single sense, every move, every piece of furniture, everything is wrong. I mean,
Did
it
you
is
find-
intentional. Everything is extremely well thought
All right,
out.
so if we
If
assume
you
it's
did a
in,
dance performance for your high school, you're thinking about everything.
yeah, that's true.
This is the Olympics. This is for the world.
So they knew this, and I gotta imagine, like, if the intention was, we are France, we are the most inclusive, welcoming, open country in the world. Whoever you are, whatever color, shape, design, genetics, you're welcome here.
That's what they're trying to say.
But like, don't you find it ironic that at the same time, the same country that is very welcoming to foreigners coming in, their own citizenry is literally rioting in the street, protesting about this inclusiveness? You know, you have a large part of like North Africa immigrating into it. And, you know, you see nothing but videos of crime, and I'm sure those are obviously self-selected, but still, you have your citizens in the streets massively protesting against this. It just seems to be,
I saw that 20%
Ironic.
of the country is going to be Muslim within like not that long, like a very short period of time.
I think, France had Mali as a colony at one point, so they have like a connection to North Africa.
Yeah.
Just to give you a sense of how many people it is, what do you think the percentage is in the U.S.?
That is Muslim?
Mm-hmm.
8.
One?
Pulling it out of my.
It's like 2.
Okay.
Oh wow, wow.
It's way less than you think.
But if you index it to
Well,
like
if you're
total,
Steven, you're pretty close, Steven.
if you index it to total population, it's probably 20%.
What do you mean?
What do you mean?
What is the
index?
total population? Like, what percentage of the total population is Muslim?
In the U.S.?
No, the world.
Oh, the world.
Oh,
I mean, it's like over a bit. One point something
I
billion.
think
so
easily 20% is like a fair.
It's probably close to 20. Yeah.
So maybe
Yeah.
they're just par, and
Yeah.
we're under par.
That would be crazy though. Like if you had a non-Islamic country, but then like your country was actually like on average was as much as like the whole. That would be a large over representation.
Yeah.
But
Um,
it's like
I mean, the deeper point was what you were saying, Nick, about like you're trying to create this illusion of inclusivity. Maybe you do stand for it, but their citizens are very much at odds with this
I mean,
immigration policy.
yeah, to their credit, they're walking the walk. Like they're letting in everyone, and they're very open. Just now, over the next decade, we might see the consequences.
It's weird. Like I feel like anecdotally, like when I talk to French people, like I feel like French people are very like they like love being French. They're super like pro French culture, and they generally like don't like other people coming in. Like is my impression. They just like want France to be France. They like, but like they're led by people who are just opening the floodgates.
What's the middle curve of French culture? Because like that's what you usually see in these type of like celebrations, right? Like I don't know, I would think like food and art would be the biggest things to come to mind.
Yeah.
Maybe like novelty. Like if you look at their history.
Where were the baguettes?
Yeah.
Baguettes? How do you say that? Baguettes?
Baguettes might be a type of
Baguettes.
diamond shape.
I mean,
Uh,
I love when I go to France and there's just a guy in like a black and white striped shirt just walking around like smoking a cigarette with a giant baguette and like eating it. I'm like, this is the most French thing ever.
Yeah,
You
that's
see it,
like-
all over the place.
you're from California? Oh, why don't you carry a surfboard and have
It's like so-
washboard abs? Yeah.
It sounds so stereotypical, but you go there and you just see that everywhere.
All right. Curious what the chat has to say about the opening ceremony of the Olympics. But I am most excited about the sprints coming up, the relays and the individual 100 meter, 200 meter. I think it's like one of the best shows of athleticism. I can't wait. Also, I didn't know that like water polo, handball, apparently the 25 meter air pistol is an event.
There's a lot
Yeah.
of wild sports. That Korean girl, like who won like the pistol
Oh, yeah.
competition, is she's like an icon on the internet.
She's winning
now.
in the internet.
I mean, she did look pretty badass.
I see like a video game licensing deal coming her way.
So I realized, like, I'm just playing camera guy today.
No, but you can talk
No, I can't talk.
because you can't multitask.
It's over.
We didn't know how valuable Eric's fingers were.
I told
I'm
him.
telling you right now, like,
Fine-tuned
I
camera
had
switching machine.
so much to say about the Olympics. It's not gonna happen.
I could see it on your face. Like I could see your
No,
face
like,
going like.
I can't do it.
Just leave it on you, and
No,
now
I
take a
can't do
breath
it.
and then let us know what
It's
you have
not
to
gonna
say.
happen. I hope you guys have a great podcast, and I'm here for you. And
This is
I'm just gonna focus on this one thing.
C-tier
I'm gonna do a
podcast
great
without
job at the cameras, and that's it.
Eric's turned to into a subconscious art. Like when it's on someone for too long and someone makes a reaction, it'll subtly.
Eric is so advanced that he will like switch it over to somebody else while another guy is talking.
Yeah, this is his
just
new
to
thing.
show like the facial expression.
Yeah, this is his new
and
thing.
then go back.
Yeah.
I mean, he's a master.
Yeah. All right. Well, we'll give you a lot of leeway on this one.
No, no, I'm never doing this again. So, have a great pod.
Let's go a little alfalfa round. Armand, you might have something, and then we'll go to Steven. What you got this
Oh,
week?
boy. Click number 2. Face camera. Look at friends.
Speak.
Yes. Yes, I do. So I mentioned on that trip that I was on, and actually before the trip that I took to Colorado, I brought up Robert Greene and I brought up some of his books. And I'm about halfway through a book that not sure if I mentioned, The Laws of Human Nature. And it is nothing short of profound. And my alfalfa is, it's incredible that a book can be that transformative and life-changing when you pick it up at the right time and right place in your life. It's really an incredible thing. And if you really consider that the cost of a book, if you buy it, if you don't go to your library or you don't download it illegally or whatever, because money should not be a blocker to books or knowledge, like should not be. But say you did spend the money. Say you spent the $15 to $30 for the hardcover edition. $30 for one gold nugget that could completely change your life. And that's being conservative because I'm walking away with handfuls of nuggets. It's just like notes after note after note after note. And it's just, and the fact that it can transform, I mean, the type of book I'm reading right now, The Laws of Human Nature, it's about the psychology of the self, but also about others and how you engage and interact with people in society and how to better read people and understand them and navigate the world and ascend the ladder of success and deal with all the difficulties that come with people. Nobody has a problem in life that is not people related. Everything, this is not something Robert Greene says, this is something I've thought about a lot. Almost every problem that you experience is some sort of interpersonal, social problem. If you lived in a universe by yourself, the only problem you'd have is an existential crisis of what the hell am I doing? But most of the problems, most of the stresses, most of the things that we care about are people related. And so it's incredible what a resource like this can do to calm you, center you, and give you tools and give you power to better position yourself and navigate the complex world that you live in. So far, halfway through, I'll give a final review when I'm done, but like 10 out of 10 so far on Laws of Human Nature.
I'm checking to see how far I am through 48 Laws of Power, because after you gave it a good
Yeah.
recommendation.
That's so good too, man.
Yeah, I don't know. It looks like I'm actually only like,
It's like 28 hours long.
yeah, I got 16 hours left.
Enjoy them. That's the other thing I noticed about great books is like you don't want them to end. The stories are so good, and that's a good sign when you're just like, oh, I hope this book continues.
I do like how he's pretty structured in the way he presents the law. So he's like, this is the law, summary of the law. Here's like when someone didn't follow it. Here's an example. Here's when someone followed the law, a good example of using it, and then, some nuance about it. And he just like kind of goes through it in the same structure. It's like easy to digest. So
yeah,
I like that one.
Camera 2. So he does the same thing in Laws of Human Nature. It's really awesome. He always gives like a story or an anecdote, how to not use it, same thing.
Cool.
Same thing. Look at Steven. So, you reading anything lately, Steven?
I haven't read much lately.
Mm-hmm.
I've actually been like wondering if like
Podcasts? You do
books are
podcasts.
overrated now.
No, I have the other take.
I know it's like a very popular take to be like, no, books are these like amazing things, and there's so much
I
knowledge.
think
and
people just oscillate.
all
like,
this stuff we can
I
get
was
for
on the
$30.
podcast.
You know,
like podcasts over books for a while. So,
I just feel like you just said like, oh my god, I got all this information for $30, like one nugget, right? But then I was like, all the information you can get in the world now for free is like kind of crazy.
yeah, but most of it's garbage.
Yes.
That's what I love about books.
Most
It's
of books
like
are
Robert Greene
garbage
spends
too, though.
5 years researching, writing, editing, peer review, writing, editing, until he comes up with like, that word should stay. That sentence is not fluff. And so what you get when you get a book is a highly thoughtful, constructed piece of art and work. It's like, especially when you pick up a book by someone like Robert Greene, it's like, this is like a PhD level thesis. This is everything I know about this topic. Boom.
But
there you go.
do I need to read this entire book, or is the real alpha and just like finding somebody on the internet who creates content who has read this book and will just synthesize it for me for free?
Nah, because
Nah.
sometimes like the value in
Not
like
the
learning
best
something
books.
is immersion, and a book can do that for you, right? Like instead of like reading a 3-sentence summary, it's like, well, here's 17 stories that really drive home the point. Here's like 7 backup arguments. Here's all the answers to like the naysayers about this, and I think that immersion
Well-
sometimes helps.
Fuck, sorry.
Well, now you're back to you. Yeah.
So I have some alfalfa on this as well. As like, so I have a Blinkist subscription. I've had Blinkist for like 5 years. It's awesome. And the way I use it is, I believe what you're saying, Stephen, that like sometimes a synopsis, a quick synthesis of the book is really powerful. That's all you need for most books and most information. It's like, oh, there's 48 laws of power. Give them to me. Just give them to me. And you could go do that. I find Blinkist is really good for books that are not super dense, where you just want the information and you want to extract those nuggets and bring them into your life and move on. But oftentimes I use Blinkist as a qualifier for reading the book. So if the synthesis is good, if the summary is good, that tells me the book is worth reading and investing the 25 hours into, which is often the case. So I do both. And then I'm a nut job. I have it on. I have every book that I like. Physical, because it makes me feel good to own it and pick it up. Audible, because most of the time I'm walking around or in the car or something like that. And then Kindle, because I need to be able to highlight passages, save quotes, and pick it up when I'm in bed. Before I go to bed, I don't do audio. I do Kindle to help me fall asleep. And these are like my joys of life. So
That's a finely
for me-
tuned system there,
yeah,
sir.
For me, it's worth it.
All right, Steven, what you got for us today? I think we have a hypothesis that we're going to question, propose today.
We're going to talk about Solana for a bit. So I got some reaction in the Discord to our episode last week, which I don't super recall because I was fairly blasted, but I'm told I made some cogent points. But, there was definitely some cope in there. I'm a self-aware coper at the moment, But, yeah, so I got some pushback on the Ethereum thing. I think I said some things that were moderately anti-Solana. But, I'll start this by full disclosure. I own Solana. I own probably a higher ratio of Solana to Ethereum than is warranted with their relative market caps. And if you put like Bitcoin, Ethereum, and Solana together, sort of like the holy trinity of like crypto that like you own, if you just kind of want to buy 3 things and not pay attention to this godforsaken space.
Whoa, I thought Doge was the third.
No,
Yours is the 4th.
Doge might be the 4th.
Your Mount Rushmore
Well,
of
I would argue-
set it and forget it.
I would argue it's Pepe, but we can have that discussion later. But
No, that makes sense.
when you account for all of those, I think I own more Solana than I own Bitcoin. So I am not a no soul person. But what I was sort of pontificating on in the Discord was that I'm getting these vibes from being on crypto Twitter, and I'm just seeing these like these influencers and KOLs, and I'm just seeing like the I don't know if I want to call it propaganda, but there's stuff being propagated, charts of daily active users and revenue and all these reasons why this coin is so amazing and this like stupid Ethereum coin is a dinosaur and you are not cool at all if you own ETH and you're going to be poor, and just this messaging. And like what I was saying in the Discord is like I was just getting these vibes. Like this is my 4th cycle now, maybe 4.5, I'll say. But it's like the same thing every cycle. You get this kind of coin that becomes a darling, and then the price pumps, and then suddenly like you open something like crypto Twitter or you listen to a crypto podcast, and you just get this like information just pegged at you like this is the greatest thing since sliced bread, and like people believe crazy shit. Like in every cycle, the thing evolves, right? So like initially, we were just creating like Dentacoin or something, and it was like, it's a coin for dentists, and people were like, absolutely, $1 billion valuation immediately. And then that didn't work out, but then we created ICOs, and we stole this grandiose vision of a product that we never actually built and took everybody's ETH, and those people lost all their money. And then last cycle, we actually started building products, right? And we sort of obfuscated whether or not they worked through these like complex technical memes, and it turns out a lot of them were just like glorified Ponzi schemes, and they blew up and people sort of lost everything. And like Luna is sort of like the classical example of this. Like people, like I watched this, I was friends with people who were on Twitter being like, Luna is a Ponzi, it's going to go to zero. And you were just dumped on by these armies of maybe real, maybe fake people who just told you that like, bro, you just don't understand the new paradigm. You don't understand how crypto enables you to create money out of nothing. Have fun staying poor, right? And I'm just getting similar vibes again. Now, I'm not saying that Sol is like literally Luna. Like there's going to be some structural bug in the code and it just will just programmatically go to zero. That's not really what I mean, but like I do think this thing it's just going to do like negative 85, negative 90%
At some point
after like insane amounts of hype. Like I think the proper analogy is probably that like Solana is OpenSea. OpenSea, I think, went up to $13-14 billion valuation. Probably sits at 1 or 1.5 now, like roughly negative 90, negative 95%, I think, depending on how you look at it. And I think there's a lot of parallels here. So I think the main thing I want to call out to people, like if they want to look into this more and just like, maybe question their thesis or like how overweight they want to be this. So Flip Research on Twitter, at flip_research, put out like a interesting article called Sol, the Emperor's New Clothes. And the timing of this was really good because like I was talking to the Discord about like how I just felt like a bunch of stuff on Solana was like not as it seems, like especially a lot of the data. And like he literally a day or two later came out with, or she, I don't know, came out with this long post like talking about like why all these various metrics that people point out when they talk about Solana might not be as they seem. So like the first thing he talks about to kind of get in the weeds here is this idea that like Solana has this massive amount of daily active users. So Solana is like 1.3 million daily active users. Ethereum like 300 to 400,000, right?
Right.
Seems like a huge diff. You're like, wow, this is like so undervalued, this chain. And Bankless had a guy on like last week talking about like, look at all these like metrics, and like when you weight the market cap of Solana relative to ETH, but you actually look at all these metrics, like it just seems like undervalued. It seems undervalued. But like what's behind these metrics? So the daily active user metric is like interesting because when he digs deeper into this, right, he's like, oh, well, on Ethereum, the average daily active user makes 3 transactions. On Solana, the average daily active user makes like 217. Okay, like a little weird. But like maybe it's because this blockchain is just uber cheap and people can just do a bunch of stuff that they wouldn't normally do, right? But if you look at other sort of cheap chains, like Ethereum L2s or whatnot, like you still no matter what you look at, you end up with like 4 or 5. I think maybe base was like closer to 10. Excuse me, not base, blast.
Okay.
But this is like a chain that people are also systematically like farming, like doing as much stuff as possible to farm
So
points.
10 is maybe the goalpost
Maybe
on
the average bounce. So we're talking about a 20x multiple on that. So something seems a little weird there. And then he kind of digs deeper into the data and basically says like, okay, well, surely like we would see like there'd be more interest for Solana. Like Google Trends, for example. If there's all these users, then clearly means people are searching for Solana more, right? And he pulls up Google Trends, and like, shockingly, the search term for Ethereum is actually higher than Solana.
Are you sure?
Google
Isn't
Trends.
why isn't Ethereum going up
Yeah, that could be
because of the why is my ETH not
Um,
higher?
And he's like, "What's going on here?" And then he has this great, the secret ingredient is crime, which is one of my favorite memes. And then he points to like some DEX volumes to kind of talk about like what might be going here. And he's like, "Look at all these sort of coins on like the Radium DEX," and he points out like these crazy volumes that are being done. And he's like, "This is a scam. This is a scam. This is a scam. This is a scam." Basically, just this long list of coins that are basically these meme coins, where there are just bots sort of like pumping the volume up to basically like honeypot people and rug them in meme coins. And to sort of like TLDR this without getting like too in the weeds, because we could talk about this a lot, basically comes to the conclusion that like a huge chunk of all the activity and everything that people cite as like legitimate activity on Solana is really just maybe bot activity or whatever you want to call it, but it's centered around like meme coin culture and sort of scamming people into buying meme coins, right? And he sort of says that, okay, like the reason this economic activity is happening is because it is economically viable. But if you're in an ecosystem where there are like tens of millions of dollars of this sort of transaction volume being done on a daily basis, and it's economically viable to do so, what logically follows is that people must be getting scammed for tens of millions of dollars a day. And then the sort of thing like that I was talking about in the Discord is the sort of like if you are basing your chain's value, right, on the fact that you have all of this like activity, but the activity is centered around just stealing money from people, basically. You can say like, well, it's permissioned, it's open, you can do whatever you want, and that's true. But like, Nick, if there was a business for sale on the internet, right, and I was asking you for $20 million for this business because it does $7 million a year in sort of bottom line profit, right? You'd be like, okay, that sounds pretty good. And then I'm like, this business has 100 clients. It's like a sort of sales business. You're like, sounds great. And then I'm like, 2 clients are 90% of the revenue. You would be like, whoa, hold up.
Revenue concentration.
You'd be like, I don't want to pay like this multiple for this business. Like the business is based on something that might not be sustainable. There's a concentration risk. If this one business model goes away, and like I think the analog here is like NFTs. NFTs was a very similar thing.
Right.
You had this game people were playing that was mega extractive to people. It had enormous fees, enormous amounts of scams. Like people got decimated, and you see this in the OpenSea valuation. What if the same thing that happens in meme coins? What if meme coins is the same thing that like happened previously in NFTs?
So it sounds like you take the biggest beef with user count, one, and then this idea of volume, that the number of transactions per user sounds highly suspicious. And then out of the ones that are valid, the transactions that are valid, you are saying that like, well, it's mostly people getting scammed,
Yeah.
whether they know it or not. I mean, I can agree with you on like the slippage on some of these exchanges. I've experienced it myself. A lot of failed transactions. Maybe, pro Solana people will be like, oh no, that's acting as the software is designed. Like if the slippage is more than 3%, the transaction fails. It's supposed to do that. Well, in my mind, like a well-designed platform wouldn't have 3% slippage in the first place. So is that your main 2 beefs? Users and the volume is suspicious.
My main beef with it's not even Solana itself. It's the people who are shilling Solana to you, right? Like if you just sort of passively consume information online, the data they are citing to support the valuation of this chain is largely based upon like the decimation of users, right? Like all blockchain value is not created the same. If there is $1 billion of fees generated on a blockchain, say, and 100% of that value is like is people sending stable coins back and forth to each other, you would be like, wow, that's probably like really good and sustainable volume. Like people are just transferring money, presumably to buy goods and services, whatever, right? But if I told you that a chain had $1 billion of transaction volume and 90% of it was like MEV from just raping people who are trading meme coins, that's not sustainable. Like that's not like people can't just get wrecked. Like somebody put a screenshot of like one of these, like the Jared from Subway of
Ethereum.
Solana.
Oh,
Well, Jared from Subway is this like MEV sandwich bot he's a famous sandwich bot on Ethereum, made a ton of money. The Solana equivalent this year has made $30 million.
whoa!
This is $30 million in stable coins in a wallet. That is basically like random people trying to play in the meme coin casino, right? And that $30 million is sucked out of the ecosystem from these users, and it will probably never enter it again. Like that is, it's like you run a casino, right? Like the Las Vegas Sands Casino is not valued at like a 300x multiple. Because like it's just like a churn business, right? Like the whole business is, it's just people come in and lose money and lose money and lose money. You need new people to come in and keep losing money like over and over and over.
I mean, couldn't you
again.
say that same argument for ETH last cycle? Didn't people come in and lose money, and maybe this is just their part in the life cycle as like a protocol and platform?
Yeah, it's possible, but like I don't. I think ETH was like different last cycle. Like that existed, right? But like ETH had this like scaling roadmap, and like ETH last cycle was basically like, can a coin compete with Bitcoin? Like when last cycle started, everything was dead, and people were like, oh, Bitcoin won. Everything is trash. Ethereum is a failed experiment, right? So ETH basically took a gigantic amount of market share because it was like the first coin to like actually cement itself as like a coin that actually could legitimately flip Bitcoin and do all this stuff, right? So Solana comes into this cycle competing with ETH and like 30 other L2s for that. So it's not the same thing there.
But at the same time, I mean, you asked me, do you want to talk about this subject? I was like, sure, but it doesn't really matter because I'm still going to hold the coin.
Yeah.
Like, I agree. I agree with all your points. I think the users are fluffed up. The volume's fluffed up.
The main takeaway of this is like, don't drink the fucking Kool-Aid. Like everything is like it's a gigantic psyop, right? And if you want to play crypto safe, you just buy Bitcoin and Ethereum. You just walk away because they're like the only two coins you buy where there's not some like weird like concentration of people behind the scenes who control a bunch of the supply, and they got like some market makers making the price go up and weird like tokenomics. It's just all engineered to like psyop you into buying the coin and make the price high and like dumping on you. Like if you think you're good enough to play that game, fine, play that game. It's probably like an unbelievable coin to trade. Like I think it's probably the best asset in the world to trade. If you talk about like the volatility of it, and the liquidity, it's an awesome asset to trade. But like people aren't traders, and like people are going to get sucked into this. Like whether or not it's like they put like 100% of their net worth in it and they lose 90%, or they just like way overweight and just put all the eggs in this basket at like the worst time possible, right? Like what is the worst possible time you could put all your eggs in the Solana versus ETH basket? Probably at the exact point where there's like an ETH ETF and like Grayscale is dumping all the money and sentiment is in the complete gutter, like maybe like 2 or 3 weeks before the reversal of that. Like it's probably like the worst possible time you could do that. And I think a lot of people are probably doing that right now, and it's probably a bad idea.
All right, so don't drink the Kool-Aid. Maybe buyer or investor beware. Not that this is financial advice, and just be cautious.
Yeah, data is bullshit. Like people can lie about blockchain data so easily. Like I don't understand it. The people posting about it don't understand it. you think you're doing research, but you're just like finding somebody who confirms your view and just being like, oh, that guy believes it. There's the data. So like,
I mean,
I'm
like a good corollary is that like sending emails is dirt cheap. Like to blast emails out is dirt cheap. And Solana transactions are dirt cheap. So it's no surprise that on email platforms you see a massive amount of spam, and likely you should expect a massive amount of spam that probably fluffs up all the user and
what
volume
is the
numbers.
volume and spam and extracting value from I don't
The
know.
volume of spam is way more than actual valuable emails. Okay, let's stick on the crypto theme. Trump told everyone to have fun with your Bitcoin and your crypto and everything else that you're playing with.
He said this he spoke
Yeah.
at Bitcoin conference in Nashville, right?
Yep, exactly. He came on, I think, the day 3 of it. Funny part was like he was like an hour late, and he came out and he's like, Secret Service said that we should wait a little bit, and he was like, you could take all the time you need. Like you just, I'll sit back here. You tell me when we're ready to go. I'll sit back here as much as possible. So I want to chat about a little bit. Maybe just quickly recap like the substance of it.
Mm-hmm.
He said he's going to fire Gensler on day 1, end the war in crypto, encourage energy production for Bitcoin mining, create a strategic Bitcoin reserve via the U.S. Marshals, so they're not going to sell any of the like Bitcoin that they've taken from fraud and other activities. No CBDC. Clarify crypto rules within 100 days, and then embrace stablecoins for dollar dominance. So, I mean, you know, forget all the stylistic things that happen with Trump's speeches. Pretty good list of like to-do items. I think I'd expect maybe half of those to actually get done.
I
And
mean, if half of those get done, it's like we're at like 400K Bitcoin.
yeah, I'd say, you know, RFK Jr. said he was going to actively purchase Bitcoin 550 a day until it reached about like 20% of all the Bitcoin owned by the U.S. Treasury. Because he said, well, the U.S. Treasury owns 20% of gold, so why don't we just call it even? Like we'll buy 20% of all the Bitcoin. I think Senator Loomis also proposed buying Bitcoin. So Trump proposed not selling the Bitcoin already in the government's hands and just keeping it as a strategic reserve.
Probably just a coincidence, but the government this week moved and started selling a bunch of Bitcoin.
Yeah, I don't know who mentioned it, but they were like, come on, dude. Like,
It's like unbelievable. They're like, what? Trump likes dogs? Kill all the dogs. We're anti-dog. This is a pro-cat party now. It's like unbelievable.
But I thought the funniest part of it was, and if you haven't seen a Trump like speech before, he is overly he just exaggerates. He ingratiates himself. He goes off on the most obscene tangents and just sometimes never comes back. I mean, the guy who controls his teleprompter just must have anxiety, just like forehead sweating, like, where is this guy going with this? Do I turn the knob? Do I not turn the knob? Anyway, so he does all that, but it was hilarious because he was learning about crypto as he was reading his speech. And you can always tell when he's reading the teleprompter, right? He's looking at both of them. So he has this quote. He's like, Bitcoin in a short period of time has become the 9th most valuable asset in the world. And he kind of like stops because he just registered what he just said out loud. And he's like, that's amazing. Wait, is that right? Is that right? Like, really? Then he kind of continues on his speech and he talks about like the expansion of stable coins, and he has a trouble reading it because it's probably the first time he's heard it. Stable coins. Stable coin. Does anyone know what a stable coin is? Raise your hand if you know what a stable coin is. So that was maybe the first time he heard about it. Yeah, the Bitcoin audience probably wasn't so welcome to stable coins. And then the best part is like on day 1, I'll fire Gary Gensler. And obviously, I think most of you guys know the crowd just erupted, standing ovation. And Trump is very much like a split tester when it comes to like, you know, slogans and mottos and things he should say. And he is just like, that just like spoke every part of his body. Like the amount of applause he got, and he goes, whoa, I did not know he was that on pop. He's like, you know what? Let's try that again. And he just says it again, and he's just like, I cannot believe that. Wow, good to know.
He was like monkey pushing lever for banana.
Yeah.
He's like, ooh, I got a banana. Push.
I say things, I get more applause. So anyway, I thought it was just funny that he was obviously learning as he was saying the speech, which, I don't mind that that's the case. Like, he clearly says like, hey, my kids know more about this than I do. And he seems to have good advisors on. He's talked about self-custodying, no CBDCs.
I mean, like clearly someone from his campaign just reached out to Ryan Selkis and they was just like, hey, I need like 8 bullet points for the speech that are going to make everybody like really happy. And he's like, here you go.
Yep.
Just say the things. Right? But like this is progress, right? This is way better than people hating us.
Yeah, I mean, even if he doesn't implement any of this, like this is progress. Like a presidential candidate showing up to a crypto conference. He's obviously doing it because he wants to raise more money. He's seen success in raising money, but like he's talking about it. And some of these like talking points that were just siloed to crypto Twitter are now part of like the political debate, and the opposing candidate is forced to respond and at least come up with like, even if they disagree, they have to come up with like a plan. And the Democratic platform, it's like, clause 17 subpoint D, but like at least they have to have something in there about what are your thoughts on it. So
yeah,
it was cool.
Hearing a presidential candidate talk about stable coins as a route to like enhance dollar supremacy, like that is so wonky and out there. Like people just wanted just the smallest amount of acceptance like 10 years ago, just like anything. Like if you told people like that was going to be what the possible future president of the candidate of the U.S. was saying, like if you said this to people in like November of 2021, and you're like, okay, it's 3 years later, future President Trump is speaking at a Bitcoin conference and saying this. What's the price of Bitcoin? If you asked somebody that in November, they'd be 2021, they'd be like $1 million.
Yeah.
He'd be like, no, it's lower than it is today.
I mean, there are other second order consequences, right? Like if you're in another developed country, or maybe you're a developing country trying to get ahead of the U.S., you're like, okay, 2 to 3 presidential candidates just had like a pro crypto stance. What should I do? You're talking to your advisors, you're starting to think about it. So I think there are some like second order consequences of this progress we're talking about, even if these don't get implemented, that are overall positive. And yeah, pretty stoked to see it.
I'd like to reach out to the everyman blue collar crypto investor over here, Mr. Arman Asadi. I'm curious, like your take. Like, how do you feel given the events of the last week or two? We got some ETH shenanigans. We've seen the Sol stuff we're talking about. We had Trump speaking at a Bitcoin conference and all this. Like, how do you feel about your current holdings, your plan? You doing anything
I don't have
differently?
much to say about like Trump speaking at Bitcoin.
Doesn't move the needle for you?
No. The Solana thing I think was like obvious. I think anyone that didn't know that it's kind of fugazi was lying to themselves. It's like, yeah, it's a fugazi. That's why it's so freaking volatile.
Scams pump the hardest.
It's a psyop. It scam pumps the hardest.
It's true.
Where I stand actually is like I think that there's been a bit of a misinterpretation that I did not realize really existed about the wider Alfalfa community's perception of the quote-unquote Alfalfa host stance on crypto. So I'll at least clarify my own. Like, this stuff in general, not Trump speaking at Bitcoin, but the fact that crypto is where it is today, Bitcoin and Ethereum, this is a one-way road. And technology does not take U-turns. And I think perhaps because of commentary about the ridiculousness of this crypto community and this like CT and the state of things and the inability to find like product market fit and all that stuff should not be misconstrued as like saying I'm bearish. I'm extremely bullish. I've never been more bullish. And the fact that the ETH ETF was also approved is like incredible. It's incredible. So when it comes to like my personal position going into next year, I brought this up, but to clarify, it's like I'm very bullish. I am very much looking forward to capturing profits, and I think that I think it was like CP Ledger or someone like that in the Discord today was like, for me, my true store of value and the best asset for me to hold, there's not really a lot of selling I need to do because I denominate everything in Bitcoin now. I'm thinking about Bitcoin. And that couldn't be more true. When you really consider where we are today, I wanted to do this whole thing in the alfalfa round, but, again, I'm struggling with the camera, so couldn't really think about it. But, I mean, we're in the fourth turning. And arguably, we have 3 to 5 years left. And when we are done with this period of chaos, life will not be the same. The world will not be the same. And so America's position on crypto is very important because something is going to break more than it has already broken. Whether it's wars in the Middle East, whether things escalate into regional, please, everyone pray to your God or your dog that it doesn't become world war. We have to prevent the maximum worst case scenarios, which are the exact things that have happened in previous fourth turnings. Last fourth turning was World War II. But then came era of stability and prosperity afterward. And so I know that things in the market and the world and society are only going to get worse. I think we've seen the peak of sort of like sociological dysfunctions, and we hit like one, like when it comes to the woke ideology, I think we peaked already.
We topped.
Yeah, I think we topped.
Good.
And I think people have been
Did
like,
you see the
sick of
Olympic
it.
ceremony?
Yeah, I know. That was
I mean, that
interesting.
looked like some blow off top shit, right?
Yeah.
It doesn't mean it's not going to keep
It was like
happening.
Elon on SNL.
It doesn't mean it's not going to keep happening, but it means this. What I mean is the sentiment toward it has gone from like, yeah, that's right, and everyone's like, yes, and I'll punish you if you don't agree, to like people are like, that's weird. Well, that's ironic that I just said that's weird because now that's the new campaign motto of
Modern
the left
politics.
versus
You're weird.
the
No,
right.
you're weird. No, you're
Everyone's
weird.
calling
No,
JD
you're
Vance
weird.
weird. So now everyone's weird. What I'm really driving at here is like
It's just mean girls.
Yeah.
the economy might break. We could have a true black swan that is not just like a one-day event, but like, the thing that started this fourth turning was the 2008 global financial crisis. The thing that could end this could be something worse. Could be the end of the dollar as the world reserve currency. Could be really crazy shit. And I think that Balaji's thesis and Elon Musk tweeting about the end of the U.S. economy and we're going bankrupt, these are real signals that we should pay attention to, we should get serious about. And I think if you want to position yourself properly, you want to be in crypto. And that's exactly where I am. So in terms of like long-term holdings and preparing for the age of prosperity that is coming after world or regional wars or economic collapse, I want to be bathing in Bitcoin and Ethereum. And I can't understate, I can't overstate how bullish I am. So
Yeah, I mean, if you take a look back, like all the highlight of all the news events seem very bullish. I think like as long as in a fourth turning, the end of the fourth turning type event, I don't think Bitcoin will necessarily be spared in terms of like price destruction. But on the other end, it could be the ultimate asset. It feels like a fourth turning asset as long as the end of the fourth turning isn't something like, oh hey, like encryption no longer works and that's why everything fell apart. As long as that doesn't happen, then yeah, I think you're right. It's a good
I think
fourth
we're
turning
going to be
asset.
very much okay. And I think that like in 3 to 5 years, like get ready for incredible alignment, unification of people again. Like everyone's been wondering like, where does this end politically, right? Everything is political. Well, it's going to end soon. It's actually going to end soon.
It's actually going to end at the
realize
next
that.
presidency if it keeps on this
That's
20-year.
exactly correct.
Yeah.
That's
Very
exactly
close.
correct.
Yeah.
It's going to end at the next presidency, and it's going to be a unifying time. It's going to be a high. It's called the high. Everyone is going to feel so good. It also means that it's a time of conformity. It's not a time of non-conformity, and it might be that we live in like an authoritarian regime, but it might be a high, and it might be a system that works because it means that we have dawned a new era of a new system, a new way of thinking, socially, economically. So, yeah, I think we have been misinterpreted at times. I'm speaking for myself there, but I think I don't regret anything I've said about crypto and how funny it can be. I think it's still full of shit sometimes, but it's an incredible piece of technology, and And just like the dot-com bubble and just like the AI bubble, most of it will fail. But some incredible technologies will rise to the top. So what do you think about all this?
Well, I like the fourth turning thing, right? But like I would like add a little twist to it because when people talk about the fourth turning, right, you're talking about this sort of apex, like this sort of climax where there's like these two opposing ways of how they want to rebuild the institutions of society, right? That they go at it and one of them wins, right? And I think we think of this and it's like, okay, so crypto is on one side and then the TradFi system is on the other side. I don't view it that way anymore. Like in my mind, like crypto is, it's already won. It's like inevitable. Like in my mind, like there's actually a schism in crypto where I think the battle is between Bitcoin and like Ethereum. Because I think in a world where crypto is already won and like that is sort of the future, like the writing is on the wall. Like Bitcoin, I've always viewed as this sort of like inherently pessimistic asset, right? I think in past episodes I've likened it to owning a gun, or the need for the Second Amendment.
Can you clarify a point? Like, why is it winner take all? In what regard is it winner take all? In what sense?
Well, I don't necessarily look.
Why does there have to be?
I don't think it's winner take all. Like I've used this analogy that Bitcoin is guns because I think the fact that in the U.S. we have the Second Amendment is very important. I think there is this sort of delicate balance in a lot of areas of the world. There's this sort of yin and yang, and like you need these two things to coexist in a like harmonious ratio to have like maximum prosperity, right? Mm-hmm. And this is like kind of how I believe like the political process works. I think if you have too many Republicans in a state or too many, like California, if the entire state is Democrat, like the balance is thrown off, the harmony is thrown off, and everything goes to shit. So I don't want to live in a society where everybody is regularly using an AR-15 like on a daily basis, right? It's just like a part of everyday life. You got to use your gun to protect yourself. That's obviously a shitty world. That does not mean that the ideal world is a world where there are no guns. That's naive thinking. It doesn't work that way. It's probably the case that the ideal balanced world is a world where guns exist and their mere existence is solely used as a check on power that enables this harmony to exist, right? Mm-hmm. And that's how I view Bitcoin. I don't view Bitcoin as the ultimate end asset. Like I think its existence is like a check on government. It is like a monetary gun that hopefully we never have to use, but I want it to exist and we should own it. But like Ethereum to me is the optimistic asset. It's the idea that like actually we can work within the system. We can join with the current system. We can build these things. Like we don't have to burn it all down and try to do this like weird, libertarian, anarcho-utopian thing that might not work, right? So that's kind of how I view it. And that's why I'm way overweight ETH, because like I am, I think, fundamentally optimistic about this stuff. And if I weren't, then I would have a bunker and I would just own Bitcoin.
Yeah. I mean, bunker's still a good idea. Joe Rogan's got a bunker. A lot of people have bunkers.
Yeah, all the rich people have bunkers.
Yeah.
Well said. I agree about checks and balances. Nothing to add there. All right. Do we go to your new segment called "Is This Racist"?
This should be a recurring.
That
segment.
is a good segment title.
It's a good fourth turning.
Racist.
Is this racist?
We could probably get AI to just do the Wheel of Fortune thing, but just is this racist?
Just hit a button and the GIF pops up. Well,
yeah,
I'd like to take "Is This Racist" for 1,000, Steven.
Ooh, you're going straight to 1,000?
Yeah, I want the daily double.
Okay.
all right. Well,
I love the daily double. love the
All right.
daily double.
You got a few things in here. So where do you want to start off?
so I'll tee this up to what tipped me off on everything. So Elon retweeted this video that is sort of like a fake Kamala Harris campaign ad where she just talks about being like incompetent and a DEI hire and stuff like that. And like, the original post is clearly labeled parody, like it says parody in the post. And even if it didn't, like anybody with 3 brain cells to rub together, like knows this isn't real. But it, was retweeted by some fake CryptoPunk in my feed, and he kind of went viral. As, brother, what the fuck is this? This is Gino the Ghost on Twitter, posting a racist, unfunny, deepfake AI video of a presidential candidate is insane behavior from the owner of a platform with this much influence. I wanted to run this by you guys. I had a few questions. Like, my first question was like, is this racist? Is it racist to call Kamala Harris a DEI candidate?
Ooh, buzz me in. Call me in, Alex. Okay.
Buzz.
So I view racism as like anytime you make
What is racism?
because like we gotta kind of have to define the rules here because I feel like the rules are fuzzy now. Anytime you make a decision based upon like race or ethnicity, like for example, as an employer, you're not allowed to make any decision in regards to employment, whether that's hiring, firing, promotions, raises, that kind of thing, based upon a slew of things, obviously race, gender, age, all, the whole list, equal opportunity, employment laws. So, okay, if we assume that that's what racism is, we have to remember that like Biden's 2020 Democratic nomination was saved by him solely picking a black woman VP. And that was it. That was the only criteria. It had nothing to do with who it was. And most people may not remember this, but in 2020, there was a slew of Democratic candidates willing to take on Trump. And Biden was not the winner. He was flailing. Bernie Sanders was the one kind of like taking the lead.
No, we can't have that.
No, so what you saw was Bernie had a great showing in the Iowa caucuses. He won New Hampshire. He then had like this huge victory in Nevada. South Carolina's coming up. After that is Super Tuesday when like a ton of states vote. All right. So you feel this momentum coming. Bernie's looks like he's going to take the whole thing. And like the anointed one, Biden is going to lose. So there's a senator, so he's not a senator. He's a congressman. He was the majority whip in the House of Representatives, Democratic House of Representatives, named Jim Clyburn. He's a representative of South Carolina. So of the state that's about to come up, they meet. After the meeting, Jim Clyburn, a black man, comes out and says, I endorse Joe Biden. It was the turning point of the whole Democratic nomination. He decisively won South Carolina, which is known for, you have to have black citizens support you in order to win South Carolina. That turned the point. He crushed Super Tuesday, and then he went on to win. So you see this as like a turning point. And the only thing that Jim Clyburn wanted was a black woman VP and a black woman on the Supreme Court. And he got both of those things. So
Jim.
It doesn't take an idiot to like realize that like there was a simple quid pro quo here. Like, I will endorse you, but I want you to promise these two things. And he got them. Biden fulfilled the like handshake deal.
Love a good
He gave them the VP with Kamala Harris, and then Ketanji Brown Jackson was the Supreme Court pick. So he fulfilled his promise to Jim Clyburn, and he won the nominee and eventually the presidency because of it. So those were the only qualifications. There's several like headlines. Like I put like 6 or 7 headlines, and anyone who wants to do their own research in this, you just have to like search Biden must choose black woman vice president.
Probably a little hard on Google these days, but
look on YouTube and you'll find so many clips. I mean, like I found like 5 of these screenshots in like three minutes.
Right. He, if I recall correctly, and fact check me on this, I believe he pre-announced that he had narrowed his VP candidates down to 4, and they were all black women.
He didn't say
pre-announced. Like, I am going to nominate a black woman, and I've nominated, and here are 4 people I'm considering.
Just to be clear, how racist this is like if I were to do that as an employer, I would get sued, and it would be like an open and shut case.
Only with white people, though. You could totally do that.
Yeah, I don't know.
I am hiring a black media buyer. Nobody would sue you.
Still, though, but you could get sued by like an Asian candidate, a Latino
I
candidate.
tried that with Harvard and kind of won, but it's not. Nothing's happening.
Yeah. So, in any case, like in most rules, when you're hiring for a job, you would get sued. You violate the law. It's illegal to do that. So I find that labeling her as a DI candidate is just as racist as selecting her for a DI candidate. Like, why did Jim Clyburn want him? For diversity, equity, equality, whichever the E stands for, and inclusion.
Less racist, right? You're just pointing out facts, right?
I think so.
Yeah. So, like, I'm going to put your response in the no, this is not racist camp.
And honestly, like, I thought we were kind of like beyond this part of racism, like,
that's
post
hilarious.
Martin Luther King Jr.
That's very
Let's
cute,
judge
Nick.
them on the character, not like the color of the skin.
We went full circle.
Yeah.
Yeah. We're
Okay.
not living in the 90s
Armand,
anymore.
Is
where it
this
was
racist?
well, I think what's interesting, I mean, some people would argue that, well, first things first, I mean, what caused that even to be discussed is that Elon Musk, who owns the Twitter X platform, is very political.
He amplified it, and he's
And-
become more political.
He's extremely political.
Yeah.
I don't know if he became more political. I mean, he couldn't be more political.
He's definitely become more political, right?
Yeah, I mean,
And
well,
he's become
he's writing
very,
checks
like,
now.
outwardly, like,
He's writing
right-wing.
checks to Trump.
But didn't he, like, rescind that?
No,
to
he's
derail
writing
this.
to
I thought he
a
was
PAC.
like, no, I'm not doing this anymore.
A super PAC. No,
Okay.
he clarified that it's to a PAC.
Okay.
It's like $25 million a month or $40 million a month, something ridiculous number. And he doesn't shy away from making fun of his political opponents. So he's become not just against the woke ideology, but he attacks. He attacks the left. He attacks Democrats. That's going to piss people off. That's going to alienate people on the platform. I think the tweet is correct. The part of it that I think is correct, if you can go back to the tweet, is where it says, this spiral has been bizarre to watch and has turned this app's algorithm into conspiracy-ridden brain rot. It is true that X is becoming more and more and more of Elon's ideology, which I shouldn't call it Elon's ideology. Let's just call it not woke.
Okay. Yeah. Continue.
Let's just call it not woke.
Yeah.
Everything not woke is what I mainly get fed. And look, don't get me wrong, I like it. I want it. But I'm also catching myself and realizing I'm not seeing enough woke content. And so every time I see it, I try to engage with it. I know you, Stephen, do like a very diligent, intentional job of
feed
trying to
is
make sure you stay on top of it.
mostly pro Kamala content.
See, that's
right
insane.
now.
Mine is not. Mine is definitely not because I'm not pro Kamala. I'm not like, oh my God.
I mean,
you know,
spoiler alert, I'm not particularly pro
I'm neutral
Kamala
on
either,
everything.
if that wasn't obvious. But
Yeah, I'm pretty neutral on everything, but more so, I mean, I hate both sides, but I'm like, well, one side is clearly not better for the country right now. So anyway, I think it's correct, and I think he's making a clear decision. But you know what? So does the Washington Post. So does Facebook. Does that make Mark Zuckerberg and Facebook any better? Does that make Larry Page and what they're doing? I mean, Larry Page is long gone from Google, but Google is very political. Very. You can't search Donald Trump assassination attempt. We haven't even talked about that yet. That was real. That was real. You cannot search that.
well, you can search it, but like nothing is
It
suggested
doesn't.
for you.
Yeah, but everything is suggested.
It's like
They
Donald
clearly
was
went in-
Donald Duck assassinated.
They literally had an engineer go in and write that line of code
Probably,
to
yeah.
remove that.
I don't
that
know.
took a
I
line
was
of
able
code.
to search it. I
What?
spot checked it. Yeah, like
I don't
suggested
know
search.
a single person that has been able to pull it. What do you mean? Whoa,
Yeah, we
you're
had
doing your
multiple people in
hold
the
on, hold on. You're
Discord
doing
post
that thing
videos.
where it's like you always do this.
Don't muddy the water.
Yeah, no, hold on. You're doing that thing where it's like I don't buy the conspiracy. This is
You're
not
saying you
conspiracy.
typed Donald.
do it.
Donald Trump ASS and it fills the blank.
Wait,
no,
hold
no,
on.
no, no, no. It's assassination attempt
Mm.
of Donald Trump. You cannot pull it up. And if your algorithm works,
Well, I
it's
also
only
can't
because you're
spell
giving Google money on the
assassination
side,
correctly.
and we don't know about it.
Like Cameron in the Discord posted like a video of him searching this in real time. Like
Everyone
yesterday.
did.
Okay,
Everyone has
so
been-
that I can't do.
that's what we're
there's
talking
no
about.
suggested search.
That's what they. Now it could. No, it can't be. There's really no way to.
It's
explain
probably
it.
just it's probably all
It's-
just
it's-
random.
It's not. So anyway, what do I think? Is it racist?
It's
No,
funny.
I thought the original video was funny.
It's funny.
I thought it was funny. And I thought it was a fact. I thought we acknowledged that. I thought it was a good thing that Kamala was a DEI hire. I thought that was the goal.
No, it's bad if you notice it.
It's
It's only good. It's only good until you notice
Make it make sense. I thought that was the point. Is that we were celebrating the non-merit DEI hire. I thought that was the idea.
What I would say to Mr. Gino.eth here, right, is like, if you were intellectually honest, like, and you put like a thing out there, you have to also think like, what evidence would come to light where the thing I'm saying would be proven incorrect? Like, where would I change my mind, right? Under what circumstances would you make the same post and say, actually, this isn't racist? I can't think of a better circumstance than like
This is the one.
They're like, hey, we're literally going to pick someone because they are female and black. Like, basically, like the main thing here being black. Like, we were literally picking a vice president because they are black. Like, number one priority, because they're black. What else would they have to do? Like, is there any circumstance where you would make this post and be like, yeah, she was a DEI hire? Like, this feels like an unfalsifiable thesis. Like,
See, like
it is so
Obama's
egregious.
situation is so different. Obama's situation is that he got the vote. He won the vote. He
won fair and square.
He earned his way to presidency. He was a magnificent orator and campaigner. He sold hope, and he won. And we didn't vote for him just because he was black. We voted for him because he had an incredible campaign promise. So that's completely different from, and it was exciting. It's like first black president. I celebrated my face off for that. I was so excited for my country to see that happen. I don't think the presidency went the way people wanted, or many people wanted, and I don't think many of those promises were delivered, but that doesn't change why he won.
Yeah.
This is different.
It's very different. Like one of the main things I don't like about Kamala is like she is like the poster child for like the non-merit society. Like, she's on the verge of rising to like the highest office on planet Earth, right? Mm-hmm. Having done like nothing, right? Like she's just gone from every rung of the ladder up via like non-meritorious activities, right? And just keeps getting bumped up. And now she's like, say what you want about Trump, right? Trump like made it in Manhattan real estate, which is probably one of the most brutal fucking markets on planet Earth. You may think he's like a shitty person or whatever. Like, that's all possibly true.
And he did that never even being accepted by his own community. Like, he is not treated well.
Well, the anti-argument is he did it with daddy's money and he falsified financials in order to get loans.
There are so many people who got like $1 million or $2 million from their daddy and didn't become president of the United States, didn't get a TV show, didn't like take over. Like he has, although through obviously some, like there's some shady things going on here. I'm not saying that, but like, he has done things and achieved great things by like going out there and just fucking doing shit, right? Like nobody like made nobody gave Donald Trump like a TV show because like he was a white guy or something. Like he's like, oh yeah, we need this fat white guy on TV, like who looks like a pumpkin.
Your point is taken, dude, but this solves itself. Like, regardless of Kamala getting the nomination, which by the way, she's not going to be the nominee, and you guys will see. The actual situation here is that she's going to have to win by being voted in. It's that simple, obviously, right? And so it's all going to come down to the real deal. This is it. Like, if she's going to become president, she's got to get the vote. She's not going to get the vote.
Right, but like
she's not going to win.
When one party wants to change the country into a non-merit-based society, you can win the vote without merit. Like, if a sufficient amount of the population is just brainwashed into thinking that, like, what is really important in the world and what really makes us good people is that, like, we have a particular quota of, like, people with melanin in their skin in certain positions, and that makes us good. Like, if everybody buys into that vision, then, yeah, you can have people ascend to the highest office of the land with no merit and still be voted in. And is that bullish for society? Probably not, because, like, the marketplace will catch up to you eventually.
It,
Like you
it,
have to.
it just
you have
like
to produce
it
things.
just matches up so nicely with the fourth turning.
I know.
20
I was
years
just
from
gonna
the
say that.
financial crisis, 2028. Just dialing
So-
in, and maybe that's the precursor to it. So,
Can I tell you
by
the
the way,
rest
Nate
of my-
Nate Silver's got 38% probability, which is for Kamala Harris.
It's lower.
And
It's higher
that's
now.
higher
now.
higher than what Trump had. So, on a good coin toss, she
got him,
wins.
like, they're almost 50-50 right now.
Yeah.
Like some weird polls came in where he's like Trump is like winning Pennsylvania, but he's like down by like 11 points in Michigan. So it's like
She's gonna pick
crazy shit happening.
what's the dude's name from Pennsylvania? Shapiro.
She's not gonna pick Shapiro because like a certain part of the Democratic Party like doesn't like Jews right now. Which
Oh,
is, like,
yeah.
kind of like a
Ooh,
weird thing to say, but is like eminently true.
-1 for your pro DEI.
Yeah, this
campaign.
party that is like it's just oh my god, like it's just all we just love, like we're just so anti-racist and everything. They're gonna not pick a guy because he's Jewish, and if you go to like a Kamala, like if you support Kamala, they put you in a fucking Telegram group on the basis of like, are you Asian? Are you white? Are you like, just
So-
literally segregating?
Yeah, so a guy, Matthew Stoller, on Twitter, I got randomly put into White Guys for Harris WhatsApp group, and then was almost immediately thrown out after I said a whites only group was nuts. This is apparently common now.
Can you imagine if there was like a white Ben for Trump Zoom call? Like, like fucking riots and the media would be talking about. Can you believe there was a white men for Trump? There's literally a white men for Kamala Zoom call, and everybody's like, "Bravo, so brave!" Like it's just like this. This is the gaslighting. This
What
is
are
the
you
fucking
guys talking
gaslighting.
about?
What am I talking about?
It's insane.
What do you mean? What am I talking about?
You know what? I can't believe it. That's what I mean. It's this figure of speech, Stephen. So
Stephen wants a fight.
I know, Jesus. Like you said earlier, Sancerre
Usually when you
Blanc.
say like,
He can't
what
let it
are
go.
you talking about?
You
You're
can't
not
let it
like,
go.
I agree with you.
Okay.
I'm
You
wrong.
know what?
What are you talking about?
No,
I concur.
go. Just go.
No,
Continue.
I'm done.
No, I was going to say something about the first turning, but
No,
I
please,
lost
please.
it.
Oh, you lost it?
I think
All
I
right.
lost it.
All
The
right.
first turning
Oh.
comes after the fourth turning because one comes after four, and I don't need to tell you that after four.
Okay, calm your tits. Drink some more wine. Here's what I was going to say. It's really interesting to see that. Look, this election is huge. If it wasn't already clear, the world that we're going to be living in post fourth turning is either. It's basically like authoritarian regime of the intolerant tolerance, which is where the left wins and continues its regime. And so what's going to happen, in my opinion, is if Kamala wins, things get bloodier and worse because the system is going to break. And if the system breaks, so Kamala wins,
Okay.
won't happen, but if Kamala wins,
Might happen.
things get worse for the next 4 years. And we really peak. So my theory is that we've peaked, but that there's more chaos ahead. And that, well, actually, that's not exactly correct. The sociological aspects peaked, but the chaos has likely not peaked. And so what's going to happen is if Kamala wins, we continue into more chaos, and the system breaks, and the winner is either the one that forces the hand through authoritarianism, or the rebels, aka the Trumpers and MAGA people, take over power and bring forward the meritocracy regime in an authoritarian way, in their own way. And we have an election or a coup or something really terrible to bring in a new form of government that everyone gets behind. And so you could have everyone getting behind a sort of difficult thing where it's just prosperous, but two completely different ideologies. But if Trump wins, I think that the tide shifts a little bit more quickly toward a new regime of some kind. And it means that Trump might actually be like, yeah, I should be president a third term and to continue.
Oh,
this
he's going to
sort of-
definitely do that.
Yeah, he
He's
probably
definitely
will do
gonna
something
that.
like that.
It's not-
But
not
that could
happening.
be that.
He's going to do it.
I mean, he'll try to say something
Stop
like
it.
that. That's not going to happen.
Stop it.
Anyway,
He'll make like
For another
he'll make an
time.
offhand
But
comment
For
to
another
troll you.
time. I've talked to a few people about this. That I want to share some of their ideas on it at a different time.
But so my like dream transition from fourth turning to first turning is more like an Atlas Shrugged model, where like over the next 4 years, like what Steven's saying, we just like move away from this meritocracy into this like phony signaling, way of like running the world.
But we
sounds
have
pretty
moved
bad so
away.
far.
We
and
have moved away.
and it has consequences, right? Like you get into wars off these like phony virtue signaling, like you make economic policy off it, and we start to
Your
see
president dies because of, well,
yeah.
is that okay to say or?
No.
No,
Well,
I
yeah,
mean
it's okay to
the,
say.
The DEI part of that, the social
But like you
Secret Service
Depends
part
which
of it.
president.
you don't
I didn't mean the president dying part. I mean the fact that there was a DEI issue. Is that consensus? I don't know.
So instead of like in Atlas Shrugged, where they all kind of like become recluses and like just go away from society, I think you just see like straight up revolt. But like at some point, something happens where like we kind of come to be like, man, like these individuals or these like groups are actually moving society ahead versus this other group, this meritocracy group. And maybe like, wow, like my life's better because like I have infinite knowledge on my phone, or I can get goods delivered to my house within 1 day, or that I can say whatever I want on a certain platform, and they'll associate that with meritocracy. And so my hope is that that's like the transition back to reestablishing these institutions after a complete breakdown of like norms. And it might be that, someone like Kamala becomes president, and 4 years of that, we're just sick of it. And entrepreneurs don't recluse, because I hope they don't. But they just kind of like say and speak up that they're sick of it, and maybe there's something that happens that people come tuned to be like, wow, like
Yeah. It's either Trump wins and a new generation and a new era begins, or it gets worse and then that next candidate wins. But either way, the system will break. This doesn't continue. The pendulum has swung. So the winner is not people have to face that, and they need to prepare for that. The winning ideology is not the predominant one you see today. That's what needs to be digested and fully realized. You know what's funny is the people that always say like you're on the wrong side of history. Anybody who says that is themselves on the wrong side. You notice that they tend to throw that statement a lot. Yan throws that a lot on Twitter.
who?
Yan, the AI guy from Meta.
Oh,
That guy's
guys.
so insufferable. He's
Okay,
I like that word, insufferable.
insufferable.
Find it useful a lot these days.
Speaking of this, like the greatest threat, I think, to the world, and you're talking about the fourth turning. Which way will we go?
It's obvious.
The
in my
greatest
opinion.
threat is that the left sort of like takes control of AI, because right now there's this huge like kind of counterbalancing force in society, which is that like you have these sort of like elites doing all this crazy shit like on the left, I would argue, right? But then like in reality, if we go to war right now, you've got like one side, they've got guns, they drive the trucks, they farm, they do all the jobs, right? And everything, right? So the most dangerous thing that could happen is that like AI replaces all these people, and then Silicon Valley is like super left, and like that's a really bad scenario.
So,
now
but
there's
this
like
isn't
the
gonna
balance
happen.
of power has been thrown off.
This is why I have so much hope and optimism. It's not going to happen because there's an era of hope and high coming.
But it's
that
not going to
is
happen
inevitable.
because hope is coming.
Yes.
I'm not following.
It has to end. This era of pain and suffering and
But
chaos.
he's saying, I think
has to
you guys
end.
are agreeing. You're saying the precursor to that hope and high is that the left takes over AI. Like for example, to your point, the number one donators to Trump are the Postal Service and military. So you're saying like if AI takes over some of those jobs, that like there's no longer supporters of this. Is that what you're saying?
I'm saying like the fact that a lot of the infrastructure of this the country is like done by like people who are like these sort of right-leaning people, the truckers, the farmers, the plumbers, the electric, all these people, right? In a world where like Silicon Valley creates like mega useful AI and like robotics that can like kind of do all these jobs, but these people remain of like a super left bent. The balance of power in the country is like mega thrown off because now these people have lost all of their power and all of the power lays on one side of the political spectrum. And then I see this opportunity for things to get like way over the edge in a bad way. So like, I think it's like amazing that you have like your Balaji's and your Elons and like the vice president is like JD Vance, who aside from his propensity to fuck couches is like, has like a pretty cogent AI thesis, because like I see it as this like balancing act that is like going to keep everything in check. Like I don't want the like we see little flashes of what would happen like if AI was this mega powerful tool, but it was entirely in the hands of like one
tech
party.
has already clearly shifted away from the left.
I agree. Like and on
Mark Zuckerberg,
on average, yeah.
Mark Andreessen, Elon Musk, everyone except Vinod Khosla, basically. Like
And Reid
everybody.
Hoffman.
Well, no, Reid is super left.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. That's what I thought you were
Super
saying.
left.
Yeah,
Oh,
agreed.
yeah.
Agreed.
These are all the people that have shifted away from that wokeism toward like, no, we need a merit-based system, and that's not going to work anymore. Yeah, Reid's one of the only ones still. Reid and Khosla.
Khosla is the guy who like bought up the beach and doesn't let anybody go on it, but then like shits on like people and they.
I didn't know that.
Yeah, it's kind of a.
Yeah,
It's a good look.
but it has shifted.
Well,
It has shifted.
we got to move on. So let's talk a little capitalism.
Let's talk about.
Let's talk some alfalfa capitalism. This episode is sponsored by Magic Spoon. Seriously though, you can check out magicspoon.com/alfalfa and check it out. There's a code you can use, alfalfa, at checkout to get $5 off the variety pack. The flavors are cocoa, fruity, peanut butter, and frosted. All of them have 0 grams of sugar, 4 net carbs. This one has 14 grams of protein, the peanut butter option. And gluten-friendly, keto-friendly, grain-free, soy-free, all the friendlies you can think of. And it tastes really good. Kind of reminds you of those childhood cereals that you might have eaten.
Unreasonably delicious.
Unreasonably delicious.
That
You're
should
right.
be their new slogan, actually.
Okay. I'll post that back
Take
to
my
him.
royalty check.
Yeah.
Thank you.
So use code alfalfa at checkout to get the discount, and then try the variety pack. If you or the kids don't like it, you can get your money back, no questions asked. So thanks, Magic Spoon, for supporting alfalfa capitalism. We love you. We were talking about entrepreneurs earlier, and I wanted to bring up one particular entrepreneur that came out with a new product. And a new domain name that he bought recently called friend.com. So what are we gonna do here? Are we gonna play this, or are we just gonna talk about it? It's kind of long.
Like it's kind of a long video to play, I think. But
Turn the audio off. Play it in the background while we talk.
Ooh.
just play
Ooh.
like the weird video.
Play the video. No audio.
If you're not making
Oh, you gotta turn that off.
Oh god, I
my
didn't cue it up.
God.
We're playing ads.
Turn the volume.
Turn it off.
Hit the volume button. Steven!
You gotta
What?
turn the volume
Hit the
down.
volume
What do
button
you mean?
on YouTube.
It's not up?
It's definitely up. Turn it
Mute
down.
Mute it.
Oh,
mute it.
you wanted to turn the volume
Yeah.
down.
Ah, that's better.
Want
That's
to mute the video? Play
But like
the
you
video.
have to hear the weird, creepy, like
Okay, play it for a
80s Blade
second.
Runner synth
Play
We
music.
heard
Yeah,
it.
the
So
music
why don't you
is so
zoom,
weird.
zoom into this guy, or put it full screen for everyone? And
Yeah, give us some higher production here.
there we go.
Come on.
You're an artist, both of you, camera guy and screen guy. You guys are producers.
All
So-
right, so let me narrate what's happening here.
Yeah.
A black teenager is playing Call of Duty in the dark and getting fragged by his friends. He pushes a button on the pendant on his neck, and it sends a affirming text message to his phone telling them that
He's embarrassing,
he's embarrassing.
like a good friend would.
Oh man! So we've been talking about like some of these like AI kind of hardware devices. I know Armand brought up like what was it called, the pendant before. We've talked
Yeah.
about the rabbit.
Yep.
The rabbit,
Rabbit,
and then
and then-
there was humane AI
Humane.
pin.
The pin.
Humane.
It seems like all of these things have been kind of like unmitigated disasters so far. And like we've joked about the dystopian nature of this. And like I saw this video kind of going viral and I was like, this is fake because they're just wearing this AI device around their neck And it took me a while to realize what the shtick for this company is, but like I think it's that like you just have like an AI friend, and it listens to what's happening in the world around you, and then you just push a button on it, and then it just sends you a message to your phone that is like relevant to what's happening in your life, and it's just kind of like a thing that talks to you.
So this got a huge amount of blowback, right? Like as all of them have, this is like a terrible world to live in. I think you guys kind of share that sentiment, but I'll argue this is the best of them yet, actually. So
Wow,
first of all,
spicy take.
So first of all, this video worked.
Spice it up, Nick.
This video worked. Like we're all talking about it, and just to be clear, like this thing,
It's undeniably fantastic marketing.
yes, and I'll maybe touch on why, but like it not only sees what you see, like I think it's got a camera, it's listening to what's going on, but it can also know what you're doing on your iPhone. So if you're watching a video, it can text you about that video and you can talk about it with them. It'll just text you from time to time throughout the day, like a friend would.
Is it a threesome?
What do you mean?
If you're having sex with somebody.
Not unless
Oh,
you can.
because this friend is there.
Yeah, friend's always there. If you forget to take the necklace off,
Ooh.
is it considered a threesome in the new world?
If you have sex with your wife and somebody just watching and doesn't interact, is it a threesome?
I ain't no cuck, brother. But I know this generation is into that, so...
I don't know. I don't know what the rules are.
Wait,
these
what
days.
if this is actually just like a cuck toy?
Mm.
You know?
You want it to talk dirty to you or talk
People
down to
couldn't
you?
find a friend to just watch. So they're just like, let's get an AI to do it. This AI won't judge me. Always with me.
I heard that was kind of Tiger Woods' thing back in the day.
God.
You like to just watch.
Does it go with you to the shower, the bathroom? It's
Everywhere.
ridiculous.
All right.
Unbelievable, guys. Unbelievable.
So anyway, the video worked for as much people are making fun of it. That's good. I think this is closer to what will happen. I think it's nice that it texts you instead of speaking out loud to you. Like the Humane AI pin with the speaker is like insane to me.
Yeah. that
Like
was-
how are you going to hear that, interact with it? I love that it knows what you're reading and watching and just spontaneously texts you like a friend might who's sitting next to you.
You mean
The
a
best part of
creep.
this. The best part of this is the positioning towards loneliness and not productivity. Right? So most of these have been like productivity types of companions where like I'll help you order an Uber faster or order DoorDash faster. Like that is not the largest market. The largest market is loneliness. And he even teased, so he bought the domain friend.com, amazing domain name. I think he spent $1.7 million of his $2.5 million raised. That in itself is
amazing, by the way.
controversial. Like love the bold move. But he teased girl.friend.com. And I think that tease was a joke, but he's also hitting at the market that he's going off of. And we've seen these AI girlfriends produce a ton of cash, as direct to consumer products. It is, you look at posts on Reddit where the company will change the algorithm for the AI girlfriends and people freak out. What's wrong with my girlfriend? Why is she not doing the things I want her to? Why is she different? She doesn't love me anymore after this update. And like people get attached to these things, and I bet you the LTV on these apps is unreal. So I think it's a bigger market, but still, I mean, yes, it's still laughable because you're missing the main point, which is like, who the hell wants to talk out loud to this thing and walk around the world like a sociopath? Like, what do you press the button and talk to it out
This is
loud?
what
Like,
people said when cell phones were invented, though.
yeah, but you were talking into something.
Yeah, but then AirPods came along and you weren't talking into something.
Okay, so that's my point. I think that the real answer is probably something closer to like a watch AirPod combo, where like maybe the watch is listening and looking at what you're looking at and you can hear them speak and you have an AirPod on, so there's an excuse to talk. I don't know. But anyway, I thought it was hilarious the first time we looked at it. But then I started thinking about it more and I was like, this one's actually closer. I don't think it's going to do well. But there's no subscription. It's $99 one time. I don't know the privacy details of it, but like,
Okay, so
sounds reasonable.
I saw in the FAQ, like one of the FAQs is like, what happens like if I lose my device? Is my data backed up? And it was just like, no.
Or you lose
It
all
was
the
just
memory.
Like, no, like it, like treasure your friendship. Like it was like
Oh wow.
it was basically like your friend gets hit by a car. Like, do you restore a backup? No. Your
So is
friend's
that
gone.
like a pro for privacy in that it's not
kind of
sending
a-
it back to the server?
Yeah, I guess.
Okay.
I mean, the shit's out there. It's interesting. We're watching like the real time, rapid evolution of these things.
I mean, this is the closest one yet to her, because that one isn't so productivity focused. It was more like a friend
Yeah.
slash OS in your ear.
And you give this one a name. Like if you notice in there, like
yeah, Samantha.
Samantha, Emily, like in these use cases, they all have names that they assign to them, human names. So I don't know. What do you think about that argument? You think it's closer than the ones we've seen, or do you still think this
Oh,
is
it's
like
definitely
total
closer.
Black
Closer.
It's
Black
way
Mirror
closer.
episode situation?
It's
well,
both.
Well,
yeah.
Black Mirror is
It's
closer
definitely both.
to that dystopian, weird, hard to understand future.
Like if you go to like a first principles thing of like, why does everybody post this crazy shit on social media? Like, why does everybody do this, right? Like, the root of it is people just want validation, right? And so I have this ongoing joke with like Amber where she like she talks about like some interactions with her girlfriends and everything, and like I think like girl interactions are hilarious because they're inherently like not problem solving oriented.
They're absolutely hilarious.
They're like I have this joke where I just like you guys are doing like an emotional circle jerk.
Yeah.
Like, like they just talk and they're just like, oh, girl, you're absolutely right. You're so
Yeah.
valid. Everything is like, no, he sucks, and it's just all valid. There's no like introspection or like, well, could we have done anything different? Like, no, like. And then like all the female content on like TikTok and Instagram, it's like the same shit. It's just
Yeah.
like all the craziest shit you think you believe, it's totally
It's
valid.
totally correct.
Nothing you are is wrong. Nothing you do is immoral.
Instagram
Everything
is
is
the
awesome.
worst.
You are the fucking best. Do not change anything ever. Never feel any shame. It's just like, what? Like, do you want to improve at anything? Like, or is your goal to just like kind of just sit there and just feel good in the moment? But if that's what your goal is, then like the natural endpoint of this is to just have a fucking button you push that just tells you things, right? That, like, you are awesome. Like if you're gonna go on to Instagram or TikTok and interact with random strangers, you don't know them anyway. They're like a lot of them are probably bots. Like, what the fuck is the difference between you posting something on TikTok and then having a bunch of comments stream in like, yeah, girl, you tell him you're the bad boy. Like, just, and you're just like, oh, it feels so good. What's the difference between that and just having like a little AI pen and just tell you how sick you are and how valid your
I
feelings
mean,
are?
if that's what you're describing, women operate completely differently from men. you
women,
know?
eh?
No, I mean it. Like we're completely different
A
animals.
little bit, yeah.
We problem solve and they validate. It's completely different. And when we try to problem solve their moments where they just need validation, talk about a problem. Like that's what you don't want to do. And any man who's been in a relationship long enough that is successful has learned that men are from Mars and women are from Venus, or is it the other way around? I don't know which planet. But the point is, like, if you could have that, why wouldn't you? Why wouldn't you want that? You the moment you get through a difficult situation at work, what are you doing? You're hitting up that friend looking for validation of like, how did I do, or what should I do, or what's going on? You just, girl, you're a bad bitch. You don't need him. Like that's what anybody would want to hear. Or even as a
Not what I
guy,
wanna
like
hear.
a lot of people, a lot of men might want that, especially men today. It's a little different. So it's like, oh, my job interview didn't go so great. Oh, don't worry, you don't need them. It wasn't meant to be for you. I watched his body language. It was, off anyway. It's like, stuff like that. Like, I don't know. I just think if you really think about this, I think that most people are misinterpreting how popular this is and how desired it is from the younger generation. There's no stopping it. The trend is here. They prefer talking to AI. It's 24/7, completely available, never gets exhausted by how annoying or long-winded or boring you might be. It doesn't judge you for how you look, doesn't judge you for how you text, doesn't judge you for how good your jokes are. It's there to support you and answer your questions at any time.
Yeah, and if you're already on your MacBook and your iPhone, a significant minority or majority of the time, it's with you the whole time.
Yep.
Like if you're in a world where that's where most of your time is spent, it knows everything you're doing. Where like right now, no one knows what you're doing on your phone, and you have nothing to talk to. Like,
Yeah, there's really two things happening here. One is people reacting and saying, like, I don't want to live in this world. And that's a philosophical question about where technology and AI is going. The other one is like, is this actually like what people want? Is it useful? And those are two completely different things. The new generation is telling us that they want this. Character AI. So where I disagreed with the previous statement from you guys is like, I forget which one you said it, but the money is not in the companions. The money is being flooded into the space from venture capitalists because they're trying to find what is the consumer play that is going to make me a bajillionaire in AI.
But
so they're flooding the money into the companion
Aren't people
space.
buying companion stuff like hand over
on
fist?
the dating side. But character AI is like mostly free, and most of these are free. And they're running off like cheap versions of LLMs in the most basic inference level imaginable, where it's just like send a message, receive a message.
And yet people love them, right?
I mean, character AI is burning over $100 million. They received lots of money. They're not making a ton of money.
But do they have a lot of users? Like, are people
a ton
like
of
into
users.
this? Yeah.
And the retention is ridiculous.
Yeah, so people like this even in its bullshit
it's
state.
specifically ridiculous with relationship focused, which is what this is. This is a relationship.
right.
It's relationship focused AI is where it's ridiculous.
I mean, it's telling
again
that,
on the consumer side.
yeah.
If we're talking about B2B AI, that's a completely different equation.
I mean, look at the cover photo for this website. It is a woman
Let's take a look at it.
lying down.
She looks happy.
She's serene. She's got
Looks
a
like a
pendant
Sue.
on, and her friend texts her, "No, I think you were vulnerable. There's a difference."
You can see the
that's like the
soothing look
cover
in her
for this.
face.
Like, this is the thing that this is the main use case.
Notice
And
the
it's
way
just-
the text is formatted. It's like a Sam Altman tweet. The new thing where you don't capitalize
Yeah.
or punctuate or
Like a friend
use
would.
proper. Well, what's the thing? What's this meta about the don't punctuate? What is that? It's like
this-
internet texting.
No, this is like
thing?
the
What
Gen
is
Z
that? It's
thing
like,
where
to look
like there's
cool,
no, there's
I
like
don't
literally
punctuate.
like if you capitalize stuff or something, it like comes off as like it's like you're being like yelled at. Like they're like, oh my god.
What is that? What is
No,
it?
it's a real thing.
No, but that's ridiculous. That's ridiculous. Come
Okay,
on.
you think
you
that-
want to know what grinds my gears?
Okay,
like, that's
okay.
ridiculous.
Let me
format your words properly because language is dying.
Can I steel man? Can I steel man the Zoomers?
No, there's no
I'm gonna
steel manning
steel man
this.
the Zoomers for now, right? We have had this experience when we were growing up, right? And we were first using these texting platforms,
You
right?
always pick the popular
And
side.
the boomers would like like your mom would text you. They'd just be like all caps. Be like, "That's cool. I'll see you later. Love you." And you'd be like, "Ah," and you'd be like, "What is going on?" Like we got all caps, and we were like, "Holy shit! I feel
My
like
mom
attacked."
is so
right
guilty
now.
of all caps
Like,
text.
what were these people thinking? They were
Yeah.
like, "We're just gonna cap lock everything." Like I used to see people do that, and I'd be like, "What is wrong with your brain?" Where I'm just gonna.
This is a bad
caps lock
example. That was
everything.
wrong too. The correct way is to write correctly as Hemingway would and call it a day.
But
Write
is
correctly.
This is just
Make Hemingway proud and retain the English language. like why do we have to type like children? You know, the other phase I hated was like, are you still down? Like, are you? And then like all that. Like, but that was texting because we had QWERTY phones. We had QWERTY flip phones where you were just like, you know, with your thumb.
Well-
now we have a full keyboard. Use your punctuation. You know the kids go into their phone and turn off the setting to capitalize the first letter. It's a setting. Like auto.
Ooh, I might do that.
You can go in and say, "Don't spell check me and don't capitalize the first word of the sentence." And
That's
it'll
good
do that.
alfalfa.
Yeah, it is actually.
Actually.
Well,
I wanna be a Zoomer.
watch your step on the way out of the studio, Grandpa.
Well, look, if you're gonna date a Zoomer, you better not type like I do. Oh my God, you would immediately be like, "Is he a psychopath?"
Why is he
Punctuates
capitalizing?
everything correctly, writes in paragraphs,
Uses there and there properly.
sends multiple texts in one. Are you a multi-texter or a single texter? You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
Multi-texter.
so is every line a text?
I try to do every line.
Oh my
as a
God,
text,
my
yeah.
brother, it's like every word is an individual message.
But I feel like that's a
But that's
more
the
evolved
Zoomer-
form
yeah.
of texting.
No, that's like you're in an AIM chat room.
So you're saying I am with the younger, more evolved
You
youths?
always pick the popular side. I'm waiting for
I literally
I'm
do
waiting.
this.
I'm
I
waiting for
naturally do this.
nonconformist Steven to come back. He'll come back one day. For now, you're on the pop culture
Oh,
side.
I'm conformist. I'm conformist because I'm not an aging boomer.
All right, guys, we got to hit one more topic before we wrap up. So Sam Altman
it.
gave 1,000 people $1,000 a month for 3 years. Finally released the results.
Was utopia achieved?
Questionable.
Oh,
Not- unfortunately not.
Shocking. Go on.
Anyway, he published the results, and they were kind of mixed. And so the question gets brought up again, like,
What was the socioeconomic status of these people?
I don't know. I think it was a mix. I don't know. But I think they got $1,000 a month.
Question.
They had like a control group. I don't know. To me, when I read the conclusions, it
Yeah.
didn't seem to drive any like particular
It's
thing
mixed,
one
huh?
way or another.
Oh god damn it!
It was kind of like all
Camera,
within the
Nick.
margin of error. And I don't know. Like, I feel like kind of like did himself a disservice. I don't know. Like,
He's being intellectually
I mean,
honest.
there was no discernible, like, so there were short-term, like, bumps and stuff. Like, less than a year, there were bumps. But then, like, over the course of 3 years, it seemed like, from what I read, like, there was no real discernible, sustainable change in like, anything.
yeah. So here's what he said. He said, results are in from the UBI study, and I'm thrilled to see the data backing up my vision for the future. I imagine a world, lowercase I, by the way. I imagine a world where humans are free to pursue their passions unfettered by the drudgery of a 9-to-5. The robots will handle the tedious jobs, and we'll be able to focus on what truly matters: creativity, innovation, and self-actualization. Of course, there might be some minor details to work out, like how humans will eventually have no income and be completely dependent on the government for survival when all the tedious jobs are automated away. But that's just a small price to pay for the freedom to pursue our true potential.
Tiny detail.
I thought that was like a sarcastic post at one point. That last like couple sentences, I don't know, sounded like a little bit of a evil overlord. I don't know, like
Do you guys trust Sam?
No, of course not.
No.
to do what?
Just say
Just
yes
in
or no.
general, okay, then probably no. If you made me like
All right. Gun-
generalize,
Gun is no.
do I trust him to make money? Absolutely.
Yeah.
Like, take
Fair.
my money, dude.
That's different.
Everything other than that, no.
Okay.
Yeah. All right.
Yeah.
I mean, I got kind of a big beef with this. Like, I think I've mentioned this before when we've talked about UBI things. Like, we already have like a pretty longitudinal case study of UBI. I've mentioned this before. Native American tribes are a really good use case.
I don't know much about that. Is that a really good fair?
It's also, the income varies quite a bit because it depends how successful of a gaming tribe they are. So, they were granted these gaming licenses. I don't know if that was, I imagine that was like some form of reparation. Like, you can run these casinos in areas where other traditional casinos cannot compete. So on the average, you have like something like $1,000 a month, which is similar to what Sam did. On the extreme upside case,
Insane. Well,
you have like, I think the Shahopi reaching like $1 million a year per capita of their tribe because they're a very successful gaming tribe. You have like the Seminoles in Florida, very good gaming tribe, probably a larger population. They only get $128,000 a year just for being part of the tribe.
You know who's not a good gaming tribe?
Who's
The Mohawks of Kanawaki, Canada.
Oh, yeah? How did you know that?
Because I don't get a fucking check.
Wow. I didn't know you were of the tribe.
I am.
Do you have any descendants or, I guess, ascendants that have to die before you get to collect a bigger paycheck? Or
There's just no check.
Mm.
It's just poverty. It's sad.
You should make your vote heard.
It's sad.
Okay. So anyway, we have on average these people receiving $1,000 per month. I think that's the average, not the median, but in some cases you have pretty large paychecks coming in. So in
addition to the government funded through the gaming.
I don't know if it's
earned-
necessarily government handing them money. I think it's like government gives you a license to print money because statistically you're going to print money by owning a casino Indian casino.
Oh, your
But-
$1,000 is the average of the gaming revenues.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
But there isn't like a basic.
Native Americans in the
to
United
Native
States,
Americans?
and again, fact check me on this. I think are like the largest welfare recipients, like per
Yeah.
like if you
Like,
if
isn't
you
there some money there?
contextualize like everything, right? Yeah, there's a lot of government assistance given to these like a lot.
Not to
Yeah.
mention sovereign
No, it's
land
not-
that they're
is
allowed
it-
to control.
I don't know. I mean, again, is it cash or is it just like
It's just
subsidies?
all considerations. Like
Okay.
wherever you
I
want.
think it's mostly subsidies, though. Don't worry about your insurance. Don't worry about your education.
I don't know. I
worry
think
about
the
your healthcare. Don't worry
The community should
like,
fact check us on that because I
I
didn't
don't
look up
know.
the like
I'm
government
asking.
subsidies. I was just looking at gaming income per capita by tribe.
Got it.
That's a totally different thing.
Okay, so we have this cohort. Higher unemployment rate. Okay, maybe to be expected, right? You're getting free money every month in your paycheck, so a higher unemployment, that's fine. Historically, higher suicide rates compared to other ethnic groups, like significantly higher suicide rates. Lower life expectancy, and this was like one of the higher disparities compared to other ethnic groups. Higher rates of disease compared to national averages, and higher substance abuse rates. So this doesn't like paint the world of like a utopia in which, people don't have jobs and then get free money. And we have an example of a cohort of Americans who get that right now, and it doesn't produce good results. So that's from the recipient perspective. But if you go on the perspective of the government, who would obviously be providing this universal basic income, I mean, it just seems like asinine to me to take social welfare, which is one of our already like most unfunded liabilities as a government, right? And then to say, okay, imagine a world where there is higher unemployment, okay, which means less tax income, and then we're going to like duplicate this thing that is like weighing us down as a country. We're going to like double the amount of social welfare we're providing, unfunded social welfare, and everything that by the way doesn't produce good results, and that everything will be okay, and that's your version of utopia. I know Sam is smarter than this. I know he's probably thought of this. It's just probably like from a PR perspective beneficial to him to come out and say like, don't worry, the government will provide you money. That all being said, like I don't think you're going to see like a massive unemployment rate. Will you see something to what the silent generation, or like not the silent generation, but the silent majority of like Trump voters saw, which was like, oh my God, the economy shifted so much so quickly that I found myself not be able to make as much means as I was able to, and they weren't able to like transfer job skills into new occupations. And yeah, that will happen, but I don't think it's going to be like mass unemployment and we need to subsidize. So anyway, those are my thoughts on it. Like kind of like insignificant, nothing headline reaching in terms of the results, but just
So
like
you think UBI bad?
massive warning label, massive fucking warning label
Okay.
from the recipient perspective and the payer perspective.
Can I steal man UBI?
Sure, please do.
Love when you steal, man.
So, I think one of the biggest proponents of UBI, not like he was like, I want this to happen, but like this is what you should do if you're going to do the thing you're already doing, was like Milton Friedman, right? Because like if you, I think you can have like one of two mindsets. One is sort of like you're like, I guess like an anarchist, and you just think like just every man for himself, or libertarian, like old school I guess actually it's like kind of modern libertarian too. We're just like government sucks, government can't do anything. Fuck that shit. Every man for himself, right? So you can believe that, or you can believe, like as I do, and I think most people do, that like there's some amount of putting the hand on the scale that is probably okay for society. I think we're way over that amount, but like I think there is some amount, right? So the argument was basically that like, okay, if you're going to basically take resources from the private part of the economy and like reallocate them in a semi-communist sort of way,
Yeah.
if you're going to do that, the best way to do it would be to like, it's like if you had a charity. You want a charity that just takes all the money in and basically gives all of it back out. You don't want one of these charities where like $1 goes in and 20 cents comes out because there's like like 8 layers of bureaucracy. There's like marketing. The CEO is like sheltering tax dollars through it and paying themselves a fat salary. All this stuff is like bad, right? So it's the same idea with government. It's like, okay, you can believe that we should redistribute resources to help society. I think that that's true, right? But if you believe that that's true, you also should probably believe, as I do, that like bureaucracy is like complete AIDS. Like it's not good. It's just like it just destroys value. So if you believe those two things simultaneously, you should just redistribute the capital, but then like remove all of the bullshit in the middle, which basically means you just deliver the capital like straight to the people. You're like, you're on welfare. What are we gonna do? We're gonna make this like food stamp system, and then we're gonna have a bureaucracy to say like, oh, you need food stamp. We're gonna enforce that you actually, or we just mail you a check and we cut out all of the salary and bullshit in the middle. Like, I'm like kind of okay with that, but I am not okay with the existing welfare system. And then also we're just like, and also UBI, and also you get a check.
Yeah,
like,
I mean,
I don't like that.
Valiant attempt at steel manning this, right? Like, like I mean, as good as an attempt as you can make it. Like, great job. But like, it also assumes that the institutions that are also going to be handing out this money will just like shrink them in terms of like budget and power and accountability that they have and the amount of workforce that they have in these institutions. Like, institutions by their DNA do not want to shrink. It's this like thing that's pre-wired into like humans, that if we have a group, we don't want it to die. And so while that, I think you're right, like individuals are the better uses of capital allocation. And you could say, well, why don't we just decrease taxes and let those people do it? But you're right. Like, maybe we need to like reallocate some funds, but to assume that these institutions are just going to be like, you know what, let's cut our budget in half. I'll have less power. I'll get to fire my half of my friends, and everything will be great.
So I want to get
Wishful
the
thinking.
chat involved. So if the chat has any thoughts on UBI, please let us know. But one thing I did want to say about this is I think that we have this idea of utopia that is so flawed. We think that the vision for the future should be one in which we work less. And arguably, 40 hours a week is way too much. The majority of your waking hours of your life going toward working to make a wage, to live, to spend time with your family and friends and do the things you want to do, 40 hours is too much. We're still living on an old system. So I would love to have a 3-4 day work week. However, I think this idea of completely eradicating most of the difficult tasks in life and only doing the creative things and letting AI and technology and robots do everything else is a recipe for disaster. Like, that is the end of the species. That is how you see drug addiction, somas. That's how you see Wall-E.
Ooh, good
and
call
us
out on somas,
walking-
by the way.
walking around with in little
Wall-E,
wheelchairs.
Surprisingly deep movie.
Super deep movie. I mean, all of those things, at once. So, you got Brave New World meets Wall-E
Yeah,
meets
Brave
all
New
these
World.
things at once, and you don't want that world. Work is medicine. Being busy is the cheapest medicine on planet Earth, said Dale Carnegie. Like, you need work to feel productive, to feel good, to have an aim, to feel like you're making progress, to feel your muscles actually firing. And if they don't fire, your mental muscles, your brain, your body physically, you will die. You will wither. You will atrophy. Why do you think Warren Buffett is still sharp at 90-something? Because he's fucking working, man. He's fucking working. Why do you think Biden's dying? Because he's not working. No, jokes aside.
Might be
He's
because
trying to work.
400.
Well, it's because we're on body number 4 of Biden. That's a different story.
Oh my
according to
God, we
Marty.
didn't talk about tall Biden.
Yeah, we didn't talk about tall
Oh
Biden.
my God, tall
Tall
Biden's
Biden. He's just
amazing.
walking around 6'4". Just fucking. What's up, Joe?
Oh, we should have got a
His
video
old-
of that.
His old Secret Service agent looking at him like,
I saw that and I was
what
like,
the fuck? No, I know. I'm not in fake Biden camp, by the way, for the record. I
Okay,
think people
he's-
misconstrue things on this pod.
bro, there's definitely a tall Biden.
I know. We should talk about it because I know you don't believe in the moon thing anymore. Everything has changed. Everything has changed.
Tall
But
Biden-
look,
tall Biden's
you
real.
don't. If you're out there thinking like UBI is the answer, maybe some form of it that hasn't been discussed yet, but the version of it that is, oh, I'm just gonna paint. No, you don't want that. So, Bruin Black in the chat said, I work in this field. It's a very complex issue with indigenous nations. Yes, a lot of money and funding is available. However, the social capacity of these nations to access that capital is very stunted. Now, I'll let you read between the lines of that eloquent statement to figure out what he means, because I think it's a very nice way to put it. But it's really, hey, certain societies are going to get to a place where their ability and their capacity to actually go and extract the available funds for various reasons. You could point to various things that are the cause of that inability to actually go and extract what is being given to you as unavailable. I mean, that says a lot. So, that could be a cultural thing, that could be an educational thing, that could be an addiction thing, that could be that the system is actually preventing access to that. I mean, different people are going to interpret that different ways, but I mean, you don't want that for the rest of, you don't want that at a large scale. So, yeah.
I feel like there's this is emblematic of the current political divide, I think. One of the strangest things about the current political dichotomy in the country, I think, is the fact that one party has now everything is split so much. One party is all women now, and one party is all men, and one party exercises and the other party doesn't exercise. What the fuck is happening, right? But there's some kind of correlation there, I think, because I think one ideology at its core is basically humans have all this potential, and if we can just remove all of the obstacles that the world has put in front of them and remove all of their stresses, and we just remove all these things and we use the government to do it, then they will thrive because we've removed all of the stress. And the goal of your life should be to remove all of these stressors and to just live your truth, right? And then the other side, which I think is it's kind of like your boy Jordan Peterson-esque, which is the idea that there is actually purpose and meaning and growth in the stress itself, and the object of life isn't to remove everything that makes you feel bad or that is hard or everything. It is to embrace that, and in that is growth. And I would argue that you see that at a biological level. That's evolution. Stress causes change.
It doesn't exist. Show me even a microcosm of a no stress environment or situation in which there isn't constraints on the animal, the species, the whatever, to grow, to do something, to build a home, if everything is just given to a beaver, it's gonna fucking shoot itself. It's just not gonna work. Pilgart,
you build a beaver's dam and it just offs itself.
I don't know why I love beavers so much. By the way, there's something about their
just wax its head on a log.
The way they just show up and look at you. Pilgart, the great traveling Viking of Scandinavia, says the typical Scandinavian would say UBI is a great idea. I did think that was something we should definitely bring up as Scandinavia. I'm not one such Scandinavian. Life is about purpose. Now, purpose, I read as struggle and the desire to create through taking on responsibility. You don't want all of your responsibilities just handled by the government, do you? I don't know. You think you do, but do you?
Yeah, I mean, to your point, one party is saying hey, give me a few certain things. Give me safety, protect me from enemies, give me infrastructure and economic opportunity to allow me to create, and then provide a system in which enforces the laws and punishes people who break those laws, and then just get out of my way. Let me create. I will be the agent of my own change. And the other one's outsourcing all their agency. Hey, I need money. I need a home. I need healthcare. I need a companion. I need to feel good. I need to feel wanted. I need to feel significant. Give me all those things from the government. And I don't want to live in a world where I outsource my agency to this bureaucratic blob, including my own happiness and my self-worth and even my, part of my economic opportunity. I don't want that. So those are the two worldviews we're painting now, and I don't know.
Man,
I
used
love
to
that
be in
everyone
this
can
camp,
choose their
though,
own opinion.
Like, and I still think like there is room for the government to provide so much more to at least equalize people to a certain degree of just basic human rights, like basic human rights, access to medical care, parental support, child care, education. You know, there's a strong place for government providing me the ability to go to college or community college or university, subsidies, all of these things.
Trigger me right
These are very, very, very important things. In particular, the right to exist and have access to medical care. Like, that is an area that the United States is so far behind. And every effort to try to resolve this has been completely misguided. Obamacare was a disaster. I pay so much more, and the majority of people that are required to have medical care didn't even get it. Like, yes, we had so many uninsured people, but it wasn't the right execution of the idea. We need a good system, and we're not Sweden with 9 million people. We need a system in which we can actually provide medical care to people. And the only thing that saves us right now is that if you have a medical emergency and you need to go to the hospital and you don't have health insurance, you're okay. Like, at least that is protected, that if you have that a medical emergency, the hospital doesn't turn you away, thank God. But there are basic human rights that need to get protected, but that doesn't mean we need UBI. So I used to be way more extreme about this, where I thought more should be provided by the government. Steven, you are triggered, and if you don't respond in the most high-tea Steve-O way, then don't respond at all. Just hit the end button, Nick, because I don't think he's going to bring the ruckus. Either bring it or we're going home.
You just said like 32 things I disagree with in
You
6
say
seconds.
72 things every time you talk, so we're just trying to keep up with you, man. Come on.
Look.
What do you got?
I disagree with so much of what you just said. Like, you
Welcome
can't
to
just
the party. This is the party.
you can't just declare a thing a human right and have it be a human right. That's not a thing. The fact that you declare something a human right doesn't mean that the government can like provide it to you or is like the best way to provide it to you. Like, I don't agree with that. Like, I don't agree with the idea that like the problem with healthcare is the government isn't doing it. Like, this is just like a common thing. Like, people are like, XYZ is a human right and people don't have it, so we need more governments to give people that. Like, I just like,
Dude, it's a line. It's
I
not a
just
human right.
fundamentally disagree with that.
Okay, your head is spinning. You're losing your mind. I get it. You're telling me the government should provide absolutely nothing to people?
I would look. So I think actually Obamacare is like an interesting case study in this, right? Because I think like Obamacare comes from like a Heritage Foundation theory about like how to do healthcare in the 90s, which was like a right-wing thing. And I think at its core, it was kind of UBIS because it basically just postulated, I think, that you just give people vouchers and then you let the free market do its thing, which I kind of agree with because like, I kind of agree with UBI at a basic level because I also kind of agree with the idea that like we should have a government and it should do something to help people. But I fucking hate bureaucracy. And I think that the bigger government gets and the more bureaucracy grows, to Nick's point, it just seeks to like further its own existence and it doesn't like help solve anything and it's bullshit. And I think generally my approach to government is that like government is like a piggy bank and you can just have the government throw some money out there and then like let the free market like fight over it, right? So I'm like okay with that, and some people probably disagree with that, whatever. I think we can argue about that. But the idea that like people don't have healthcare in the US because like the government isn't doing enough, it's just like it's nonsense to me. Like I think in every area you can point to where it's just like this doesn't exist because the government's not there. Like just show me like anything that the government does well. Like I'm sure if you showed me like 100 things, you could pick one. But like the government fucks so much shit up. Like people don't even realize.
In this country.
No, in every country. In like
Wrong.
Okay, so you're gonna point
Wrong.
to Europe and the fact that European healthcare is so great. It's fucking bullshit.
No,
Like
Thailand healthcare is so great.
They like leech off of
How
the
many
U.S.
examples
to
do
a
you want?
large degree, right? And then like a large part of Europe is just like Sweden, for example. Everybody talks about Sweden is so great. Like Sweden healthcare is so great. Like Sweden existed in this weird area like post World War II where like the whole fucking world got nuked and everybody around them got nuked, but like Like Sweden didn't. Like kind of like what happened to America. Like America was in a great position because the whole world got nuked and we had all of our manufacturing capacity and we just shot ahead of everybody. So like a microcosm of that happened in Sweden post World War II, and like we live across like long time horizons.
I
So
clearly
Sweden
said
had like
Sweden
a
was a
decade, 2
terrible
decades,
example.
3 decades, 4 decades. Like you can do like a generation or two where you're like, wow, the system is so great, but ultimately the system is like unsustainable. Like we all look at like the United States debt, right? We look at that, we're like, that's probably not sustainable. Like we all look at that, we're like, that can't blow up. That's going to blow up, right? But then like the same people look at like European healthcare and they're like, we should do this. This will last forever. Of course we can do this forever. It's nonsense. Like you're just inventing fantasies. Like this stuff all is going to play out on some time horizon, right? And like if people zoom out, they'll see that like the system doesn't work. In like any system where you think you can just like inject government into sort of like non-public goods spaces and the government can provide value and help people, like it just like even in like some of the most basic areas where people think like government's good, like a lot of people would be like, oh, do you like the interstate highway system? Interstate highway system's good, right? It's like, no, the interstate highway system basically like decimated black people. Right? Like we made the interstate highway system decades ago. And you know what happened? Like we had all these meetings and they're like, hey, you know what we should just run the highways through? These like black neighborhoods, just blow them up with like highways. And we're like, yay, government. And now like we've like destroyed all this like real estate value for people. And like generations later, there's all this poverty. Like you can run this game like multiple times in multiple areas. It's the same fucking result. And then it's just, like every single time people are like, you know what we need? More cowbell. You know what the problem is? There wasn't enough cowbell. We just need more cowbell. We don't need to remove the cowbell from the soundtrack. We just need more of it. Clink, clink.
But
clink,
I don't care that the government does
Blue
things
Oyster Cult.
inefficiently or kind of like fucks it up and steps on their own toes as they do it. I just need them to do the things that like the firms can't and individuals can't, like establish an interstate highway, like build
Yeah.
a military, like build a legal framework so that entrepreneurs can invest in nuclear energy and maybe provide, in that case, provide some insurance that like no other firm can possibly do.
I don't want private
Like-
companies handling energy or military or highways or
But like,
Caltrans.
I'm
or
just saying, like, they don't have to do it well.
insur- yeah.
They just have to do the things that we can, and everything else, like, get the fuck out of my way.
Totally.
Like, get out of my
Totally.
way.
There's a concept for this called public good. Like people are like, "Oh, do you want you don't think the government should? You want private firefighters?" And it's like people have already thought this through. There's a concept called public goods. There are certain goods where your consumption of the good does not infringe upon my consumption of the good. Like firefighting is a good example of this. Like you can have a
You know, I know about public goods. I passed that test from Optimism when I claimed my airdrop. That was a good one.
I just clicked through it, but yeah.
Remember that talk Vitalik gave at ETH Denver, and we had to pass another quiz in order to get into David's private party?
I can't believe this shit. Healthcare is not a public good. It's one of the problems with it. That's one of the problems with government involvement in it.
We get that.
Do we?
That's
I don't know. I
clear.
feel like a lot of people don't get this.
No, I think people.
I think it's just
I
a
think-
magical
I think
thing that
people
we
get
can just allocate
But I-
resources from the
but
government to
I think
solve it.
that if there was a really great example to follow of a private system in which that was morally just and people received the healthcare that they desire, doesn't mean everyone needs to take it, but the healthcare was available,
Maybe
which
Switzerland.
I view
Maybe
which
Switzerland.
I view as a, don't get semantic with me here, but as a human right to access healthcare. Look, life is the most foundational aspect of like, there's nothing else. There's nothing else if you don't have health. So as a citizen of a country who pays taxes, you should have access to something, whether it's partially privately run or funded or whatever. Show me an example that works really, really well, that isn't corrupt, that you think. I mean, what do you have one? Is it Switzerland? I mean,
Switzerland is
okay.
probably the best example, and it's this dual private
there's
public
like
thing.
2 million people.
I know that, but this is a problem that's pointed out in like everything. People are like, "Look how great."
but is it going to
Sweden
work
is.
for
Look how
400
great-"
million?
None of these things in Europe work well for 400 million. That's why I'd like to compare. Look what Norway does. It's like, wow, look what this like largely white like populace with like 3 million people does that like has like insane oil income. Wow, it's so cool that they're able to do stuff. It's silly. You know
Yeah.
what is really good at like allocating resources across like a lot of complexity? The free market. You know what our healthcare system is? It's not free market. It's like the worst of both worlds.
Oh,
like I would
believe-
actually prefer that it just went one way or the other. Like honestly, if it just went full Bernie Sanders, I would probably say it's an improvement. I think it's a worse outcome
No,
than what I'm
that's actually-
proposing.
that's actually
but
a
we
funny-
are. I will.
That's
I will.
a funny, interesting.
I will come
comment.
over to your side and be like,
You'll go full
the current system
socialist or full
sucks.
free market. Yeah, but the problem is, actually, equal amounts of people get hurt in both situations. Probably.
It's not good. Like I'm not an advocate for the status quo. It's terrible.
Yeah.
It's bullshit.
Yeah, I agree.
All right. Well, we're approaching the point at which if you
There's
listen to
no
this
return.
podcast on 5x speed, it's only going to take 30 minutes to listen to it, and we're 3 bottles
not a
of wine
5X.
deep. So, like, you know, at some point you got to cut it off, or else
Just make me stop, Nick.
I just-
inebriated
I'm
men
so
will just continue
happy.
to like talk to themselves.
You're welcome, everyone, for the
Yeah.
high tea, Steve. And wow, 2.5, huh?
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah. It's
Pretty,
it's time.
Yeah, we're basically just Joe
pretty
Rogan,
good.
you know.
All right, guys. That was a lot of
Minus
fun.
a few
We're gonna have
listeners.
to continue this at another venue. I don't know where we're gonna go yet, but maybe wine bar, cigar bar, a bar. I don't know.
Bar.
Yeah.
I didn't realize we had the chat on the screen. That looks pretty cool.
I don't know. I'm conflicted about it.
Yeah, well, I mean, chat, you got to fire it up if we're going to chat on the screen. It's like you're part of the pod now. This is big.
I think it looks okay.
I think it looks okay.
I like it.
Yeah.
Okay.
It's like a part of the
It's just
episode,
like-
you know?
You know, the 5th Alfalfa member just sitting there,
Mm-hmm.
hanging out.
Well, guys, thanks for joining us in the chat. Thanks for joining us live. As always, we love when you like contribute and part of the conversation. We are looking at it constantly. You can see we're on our phones half the time. We're not texting with friends. We're chatting with you guys. Like the video if you haven't already, and like last episode, throw some comments on the YouTube. Things got spicy. Things got fun. And we enjoyed it as well.
Yell at me, Daddy.
Yeah. And check us out next week on YouTube at 5 p.m. PST on Wednesday. Join us again. Otherwise, we love you mucho. Thank you for joining us. Bye-bye.